welcome back to the Character Corner with Chris and D-Palm. We are here to continue part 2 of our Rogue War. The first part 1 was the Batman villain, so it went 2.5 hours. We're doing this one on Sunday because I have a feeling that this one might go a little bit longer too. We are doing Spider-Man villains. Might go 3. We'll see. We'll try to keep it to 2.5 and go from there. This show is actually being sponsored. This show is being sponsored by Susan Berry, the Pool Law Firm, which is located in Silver Spring, Maryland. Susan Berry and Troy Poole are excellent attorneys in the Maryland, D.C. area. They are from the D.C. and Maryland area, so if you're in the DMV, please check them out. The Poole Law Firm handles criminal law, family law, and personal injury. So if you are a victim of a villain, like Spider-Man villains, and you need an attorney, you want to know more, please head over to their wonderful website, The Pool. That is www.thepoollawfirm.com. That's Pool with an E, so it's Poole lawfirm.com. Number 301-585-3014. All right. So, as we talked about when we did the Batman Rogue War, the interesting thing about these rogues is just that it's seeing how they're interacting. And when everybody knows my villain agenda, and we joke about it.
It's well established.
It's well established. But here's the thing. The reason why I had this villain agenda is, I think, just like when we'll talk more about this when we get to The Flash, obviously, but I feel like when you have good villains and great villains, they really do make your hero better. And I think writing compelling villains isn't as easy as people think. I mean, obviously you need some guys who are just evil just to be evil. But even then, there's complexities to that, right?
Right.
And, going through some of these, the books I end up reading for some of these Spider-Man villains and just how things worked, it's just interesting seeing. I mean, sometimes you get guys who are terrible individuals, but then you start feeling for them,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes it so good. I think sometimes what makes Spider-Man so interesting is, and it's so funny when I was doing a research, we were putting together this list, we put it in order, going through some of these books, and I follow Dan Slott on Twitter, and he actually tweeted something very interesting this week, and I was like, it fit so well for what we're going to be talking about here. And somebody asked him what his favorite Spider-Man villain was, and he says either Mysterio or Dr. Octopus. But he says, and in parentheses, he goes, but the best Spidey villain is Peter Parker. He's his own worst enemy. And I think that's what makes Spider-Man such an interesting thing is Batman's almost too perfect sometimes.
Right.
And even when he's not, he's Batman. So you can't really show that weakness. Spider-Man is such a, he's not depressingly flawed like Daredevil. Like, he's not a depressing character. But he has a lot of depressing things that happen to him.
Right.
And you kind of ignore it because he's always cracking jokes. But when you think about it, like, we went over the Daredevil thing. We're like, oh, man, the depressing life of Matt Murdock. But Spider-Man and his villains, man, you kind of overlook it because of the humor he throws in there. But good God, man, his rogue gallery in him, there's complexities there, and Peter being who he is, and we'll talk more about this when we get to talking about Dr. Octopus, obviously, but yeah, man, it's a lot there, and I think his villains do make him better.
And it's interesting because unlike the other two villain groups that we're choosing for this project, this isn't a situation where Marvel reboots continuity. Mm-mm. So, and I know you said it's probably going long. It is, but it may not also, because sometimes, like Marvel does in their films, we're going to be able to talk to the core of these characters. And yeah, we're going to talk about stories, but we're not going to sit here and break down everything that's ever happened to them.
Right.
Because, especially for Marvel, it's just too complex. Like, I was trying to explain the Lizard to someone, and I was like, well then his family dies.
Well, then he kills his family. He kills his son. Yeah.
And then you're like, well, then he becomes the Lizard again, but then he gets his intelligence back, mm-hmm. and considers himself locked in a prison. So it's kind of a penance thing, and it's just the whole thing. It's so hard to try to capture it all, mm-hmm. but at the core of the character is Kurt Connors and easy to understand.
Right. When I was going through this, I started noticing there are some very good parallels between Spider-Man villains and Batman villains. Like, we'll obviously get to Kirk Connors a little bit later with the Lizard, but I was like, he's like almost like Spider-Man's Harvey Dent, but way more complex. Not even almost, way more complex, and almost way more depressing. You know, because there is a good guy there. There is somebody that Peter Parker believes in, but he's
a mentor to Peter, really.
Yeah, but he's also a monster.
He's also a monster.
But it leads to so many compelling stories. Like, I even found some compelling ones for Rhino, and I was just like, oh, wow, this is actually really good and also depressing. Good God.
Right.
You know, it's just, there's a level of complexity there that sometimes we kind of avoid. And, well, let's just get right into this. Like, I remember, and we didn't talk about this list. When I sent you the first list, we didn't talk about this, but you kind of have to mention this character as the beginning. And it's going to be funny when we get to the beginning. The first character we talk about and the last character we talked about, it all kind of comes back to closing the loop on family in a way. The first villain we're talking about is technically J. Jonah Jameson.
And it's interesting because even J. Jonah Jameson, who by and large starts as a caricature, becomes like a real fleshed out character.
Yeah.
He's the I guess the editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle is the best way to start him off. And he's very adamant that Spider-Man's a menace. And it adds to the dichotomy of Peter Parker working for a man, taking pictures of himself, but allowing himself to portray a negative light to keep the lights on.
Right.
It's one of the things where I thought it was a nod by Stan and Jack to kind of do the newspaper. While Spider-Man still fighting the good fight, he still has to fight the newspaper. And it's something so real and so, like, the pen is mightier than the sword type thing. It's very interesting how public perception plays such a huge role in Spider-Man.
And it's consistent.
Where, like, the world's evolved into this image-obsessed place now today in 2016.
Right. And it's consistent. Like, you read early Spider-Man, you get J. Jonah just being an asshole. You read New Spider-Man, he's still being an asshole. But
in between, they explain the why.
Right. And that's the thing. And that's what makes it so good. I mean, it really all starts and stops with him because, like, his campaign to discredit the Spider Menace, as he calls him, you know, it literally makes Spider-Man's job harder. Like, Spider-Man will literally come in and save Jonah's ass, save JJ's ass, and Jonah will go like, "Get off of me! Why are you here? You're a menace. Take off the like." I want to say I can't remember exactly if it was Kraven's Last Hunt or one. There's one time where Spider-Man's being framed for something. And J. Jonah, like, the level that J. Jonah will go to even discredit his own integrity. He literally tells Spider-Man, it's like, hey, well, if you take off the mask, I'll exonerate you. Like no shame. No, hey, we got to do this for the integrity of it. We have to. No, he literally tells him, if you take off your mask, I will make sure that you are treated well by the newspaper. Doesn't even hide it. You know, no subterfuge, no nothing. Just literally comes out and says that shit, and you're just like, and I was at that point I was like, yo, yeah, he's got to be a bad guy. You don't think of him as a bad guy, as a villain, but oh no, he's a villain.
He's the first villain because after Spider-Man stops a burglar in Amazing Fantasy 15, that's when Jameson gets him blacklisted from, because you remember that he was originally a wrestler, like he was doing stuff to make money.
Right.
He stops the burglar, at the one who killed Uncle Ben later, and J. Jonah Jameson says, this man should not be taking this power into his own hands. He's an entertainer, and got him blacklisted from entertainment. So people say, oh, how come he never, there's tons of merchandise of Spider-Man, even in the universe, there's Spider-Man merchandise. How come he's never cashed in? He's been blacklisted by entertainment from his very first appearance because of J. Jonah Jameson.
Yep. And it's one of the, again, it gives you that different, even with, you know, we're talking about these rogues, and we're going to compare the heroes. You know, you get some people pushing back against Batman and the power he has, but it's kind of one of those secrets where everybody's just kind of like, fuck it, right? No, it was
because
Spider-Man.
At the end of the day, if Jim Gordon's on your side,
right? You know, like even when he's not supposed to be, it's like, yeah, we're not gonna address that. You know, like even before he was commissioner, people were like, yeah, Captain Gordon, you know, go after the Batman minimum. It's like, I'll get right on that, Chief. You know, it's just like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Spider-Man, on the other hand, no. And then you get J. Jonah becoming the mayor. So he gives him even more power. And it's just, you start realizing like, yeah, dude, you're a villain. He actually even, we'll get into this later, but he leads into, Scorpion, another villain, And it's just, yeah, man,
he leads to a lot of villains.
Yeah.
The Spider Slayers.
Mm-hmm.
And just to tell you how far and how long reaching these characters are, he and Peter Parker are now technically stepbrothers.
Yeah. his estranged father marries Aunt May. So again, it starts with family.
Yeah.
Starts with family. And to be honest, he's an asshole to Peter.
Yeah. Oh, even now that Peter's successful and he's basically Tony Stark light, still an asshole.
Mm-hmm. Still an asshole to Peter. So it's like this is one of those characters that hits Peter, that hits Spider-Man as Spider-Man and as Peter Parker. Like he degrades and doesn't want to pay Peter what he should be paid, but then he also wants Peter to help him discredit Spider-Man, not knowing that means Peter has to discredit himself.
Exactly.
And yeah, I don't know how you get past. He's got to make him a villain. He's got to be. I remember seeing somewhere. I think, like you said, one of the things they explained is that his real problem with Spider-Man is the mask.
Yeah,
and it goes back to him and I think it was his stepfather or his estranged father and things like that. But that's really what it is. Like, he doesn't have a problem with Avengers. He doesn't have a problem with Captain America. He has a problem with Spider-Man. He has a problem with what he sees as unchecked power, which is weird because even when Spider-Man becomes an Avenger, it
just widens Jonah's gap. It's like, I'm attacking the Avengers now.
Yeah, So yeah, it's very interesting. And then So
I'm gonna do this on a couple of characters you do today. The ultimate version of the character in Ultimate Spider-Man, J. Jonah Jameson plays a lot of the same plays, but there's a lot more of a focus on his newspaper man background. So he's integral early on in helping bring down the Kingpin. His Spider-Man stance is just as anti-Spider-Man and just as well explained, but there's a situation where he finds out that Peter's Spider-Man. And he doesn't tell anyone. He tells Peter that he's an amazing kid for doing what he can do, that he lashed out because the mask scared him, and that now that he knows there's anything I can do to make your life easier, less hours, more flexible hours, more money, you let me know. And then at the end of it, he says, I'm paying for your college. That's all it is to it. Mm-hmm. And then when Spider-Man dies and is unmasked publicly, he, of course, is the J. Jonah Jameson, a little bit of a self-congratulatory, I didn't tell anyone thing. But he writes this amazing op-ed that runs, obviously, throughout the comic, kind of frames the comic. And it's about how Spider-Man was too good for the world. And I thought that was interesting that Bendis took the opportunity of Ultimate Spider-Man, of the new continuity, to kind of really flesh out J. Jonah. But it's like you said, the more you learn about J. Jonah, the more you want to care. But then it becomes a dig again. You're like, you're just an asshole. Mm-hmm. And then I felt like in the Ultimate series, which benefited from not being a 70-year-old comic book that can, it's a superhero comic book that you can't really change the major properties of. It had the benefit of finite storytelling, and that's something I think really paid off in his character arc.
Right. A little bit. We'll go through some of the. You had the list here.
Well, just because I wanted to acknowledge that while Spider-Man's an Avenger now, and while he is in the forefront of these cosmic events, there's a very long period where he fought the Magia, which was, by the way, the Mafia, but they couldn't say Mafia because Marvel's in New York. Mm-hmm. So they had the Magia, they had Silvermane and Hammerhead. There are all these low-level mob. It's almost his Batman Year Run phase.
Yeah.
Where he's fighting the mob.
Yeah.
Except the mob becomes intertwined with the superheroics a bit in a different way in Spider-Man.
Right.
But I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that, yes, there's a very large mob element, especially early on.
Yeah.
And either unpowered or lower powered characters.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think that again, there's some good differences and some stark differences between the way, because like you said, both Batman and Spider-Man deal with these street level, if you will, villains and the mob and stuff like that. The difference kind of is with Batman. There's his street level mob. They really don't embrace the supervillains, whereas Spider-Man, you start getting things like the new ones like Mr. Negative. You get Tombstone. You get a bunch of these characters start crossing over.
You get Dr. Octopus as the big man.
Right. You get and later on we'll deal with this. But you get Kingpin. You get you get this bleeding over that I don't think you get as much with Batman. With that, I mean, yeah, you get the Penguin obviously and Two-Face, but for the most part, when it's a mob, it's just a mob. But I remember, was it the Gauntlet that I was reading, where they basically have, the mafia fighting amongst themselves against Mr. Negative, and you really find Peter in the middle of a super powered mob war, and he's having to deal with this, and on top of that, deal with the other villains as well. So. But like you said, yeah, we have those there. So it's like, yeah, Kangaroo, you have Mr. Hyde, Hammerhead. I guess we include Tombstone in here as well.
Oh, definitely. Tombstone, I thought was, like you said, bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was the crime boss who happened to also have superpowers.
Right. And interesting thing about him is you see him now in the Miles series with him and Black Cat.
Right.
So, that's great. So let's go back to some of our more traditional villains we have here. The next one on here I think is a good one to have after J. Jonah, just because of the relationship there. And in a way, he's actually is more of a J. Jonah villain, and Spider-Man kind of just is there to stop him. Scorpion.
Man.
Matt Gargan. First
This
appearance,
poor
Amazing
bastard.
Spider-Man 25. Yeah. Started off as a private investigator, hired by J. Jonah, and things did not go well.
He was trying to figure out how Peter kept getting the pictures of Spider-Man. Peter being Peter, could use spider sense to avoid him, so nothing ever came of that. So then he offers him 10 grand, to be the subject of an experiment to give him a characteristic of something that's a natural hunter of a spider.
Right. Scorpion.
So the idea of Scorpion originally, and was it issue 25, he said?
Yeah, they made Spider-Man 25.
He was Spider-Man, but like extra Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
He was a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, could jump higher, and he had a tail, but he was dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And for all the physical advantages, he always got his head kicked in by Spider-Man. But like you said, he became a J. Jonah Jameson villain.
Like I was reading, it was either issue 700 or 699 when when we'll definitely get into this more if you don't know about this. Peter's is in Octavius's body, and he's kind of hired Scorpion and them to try to help him. And Scorpion realizes that J. Jonah is squirreled away somewhere. He basically like, yeah, fuck this, I'm going after this guy. That's the thing about Scorpion. If he finds out that J. Jonah's anywhere around here, his mission is instantly done. And that is his new mission now, is to go fuck with J. Jonah. And it's like consistently happens. Like there's another issue I read where he did that. He was hired by somebody to kidnap he was hired to kidnap a general. And he kidnaps him, he's supposed to bring him back, and then he realizes, wait a minute. I can get J. Jonah. That's what I can do. I'll kidnap this guy and ask him to replace him with J. Jonah, and that'll work. And so he completely forgets his mission and says, fuck, I'm going to do that. But like you said, I think that's the thing that will also go throughout the rest of these villains. He's stupid.
He's so stupid.
And it's a thing that highlights Peter's intelligence. Because for the longest time, he's not, like, now it's a little bit different because they kind of made him Tony Stark light, where he's actually working, and towards the later runs of the main Spider-Man, he's, working for a tech company. He's actually inventing and doing things. But early on, Peter's nothing more than a freelance photographer. So by allowing him to face off against these villains who are these extra powers, you can show that the way that he wins is his intelligence. Because a lot of times he's actually overpowered and he's outmatched. So the only way he can beat them is this way. And I think one of the thing I can't remember. Yeah, he does it one time, and then when Doc Ock is as Spider-Man, he just knocks his jaw completely off. Yeah. He always asks, he's like, why do you have this suit of power, this armored suit, but you leave your jaw exposed? Like, it's the dumbest design ever. What were you thinking? And it's just, he has a full body battle suit, but leaves his jaw exposed.
And he's basically trapped in because of Jonah Jameson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Obviously he has the tail with the projectile weapons, usually an electrical generator, or he has a spike on the tip, acid. He's gotten several updates to the suit,
right,
throughout the time, and he has his own, because he does have his own powers without the suit. So he does have superhuman strength, speed, agility, reflexes, because of the mutagenic experiment he went through. He just can't. He's not very smart.
It's also important to note that he was the first anti-Spider-Man that we're going to run into. We're going to run into a couple of them,
right? And
he meets up with the penultimate anti-Spider-Man in Venom when Matt Gargan gets the Venom symbiote. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about it more later, but it's so funny because even Peter's like, you're so much more powerful, but you're still so very, very dumb.
Right.
Right. This is not going to be a challenge. You're just making it inconvenient.
Right. So.
And he was right. Every time, even with the Venom symbiote, he got his head kicked. I mean, he got his ass kicked all the time.
Mm-hmm. And again, it just shows you that, for all the witty, the witty comments and things like that, Peter's able to use his intelligence a lot of times to get out of these situations. Mm-hmm. And keep that in mind when we go to Rhino later on. Next one we have on the list, we mentioned it before. We have Dr. Kirk Connor's Lizard, and again, this is just a depressing.
He's just depressing. That's all it is.
Depressing story. For this one, I've read Amazing Spider-Man 630 to 633. So this is the Gauntlet run that they do. It's like a year-long run, which is, if you want to read and get in on some of these villains we're going to talk about, reading the Gauntlet, which I want to say starts at 612 and it goes all the way to 634 or something like that. Maybe it's up to 633. 633 might be the one, and then Grim Hunt starts after that. That's a good run because it's a year-long event, and they for 1 to up to 3 issues, they'll focus on certain villains, each one. And it's basically Peter running the gauntlet of some of his rogue gallery. And in a way, it reminds me a little bit of Nightfall in that it's the grand scheme of some other villains to basically wear down Spider-Man. Just like with Nightfall, it was Bane trying to wear down Batman. I think it might be done a little bit better in a way.
Well, it's done better here, I think, because it wasn't the introduction of a brand new villain.
Right.
If your villain has to weaken you before his first appearance, it makes you feel a little some kind of way.
Right.
This was the final plan of a long-standing villain that we'll talk about later.
Right. And it was a great plan. And so read the Gauntlet, and I'm gonna keep bringing these issues up. So when I mention Gauntlet, I also put the issue numbers just because, like I said, there were some really good stories and just really humanized some of these characters. And the one with Kirk Connors and Lizard is Shed is the little the storyline there, and it's basically Connors finally losing to the Lizard, and it is sad, very, very sad. He ends up killing his own son, Billy.
Yeah, and
it's the Lizard finally takes over, and that is the final straw. And it's very animalistic. He's like, oh yeah, I'm the Lizard's basically you have to eat your own young. You have to do that. And at one point, Connor's even saying something about how, talking to one of his assistants, he's like, yeah, the lizard doesn't like you. He's just here because he's actually working on other lizards. She's like, she makes some comment about how, oh yeah, no, he really likes me. He's like, no, he doesn't like you. He just wants you for your warmth. That's it. Like lizards can't love, and he keeps telling himself this because he's trying to get his son back. He's doing all this stuff,
right?
And he loses it, and it is just sad. Even the way it goes, like I want to say all the Gauntlet issues with the villains, most of them end up very, very sad for the villain.
Very sad.
And I mean, I know there are other. You'll probably mention some other ones, but I read that one because it just stood out to me, and I'm just like, God damn. And then there's later on, I think we talk about this in in the whole run up to issue 700, where Connors admits as Peter's trapped in Dr. Octopus's body, and Connors the lizard admits that he finally has control again.
Right.
But that he's basically punishing himself. Like he's like, yeah, the treatments are working. I'm back, Connors, I'm back in control. But he's literally living in the shell of the lizard to punish himself.
Yeah.
And like I said, it reminds you so much of the depressing fall of Harvey Dent, except it's way more heart-wrenching.
Yeah. Because it's if Harvey Dent figured out how wrong or lost himself to Two-Face, but then came back.
Right. Or constantly coming back and constantly
Right.
trying to keep it at bay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, in a way, that does happen with, what was it? Was it, there was some issue where Harvey comes back. Was it The Dark Knight Returns?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. And you're just like, oh, damn, Harvey. There's nothing wrong with your face. You're
just a crazy person.
Yeah, you're just a crazy person. Here, Connors isn't crazy. He's literally, stuck with this end of stuff, because it all started with him trying to, he's a scientist. He's like you said, he's also Peter's mentor,
which is another thing that's going to play off a lot in this podcast, because the father figures that Peter hunts for and finds don't always, it very rarely pan out for him. Mm-hmm. And this is another case of that. And Kirk Connors actually has a really integral role in the symbiote saga in Ultimate Spider-Man. The lizard happens early on, and then they kind of get away from it. It's not a plaguing thing, but Kirk Connors evolves into a pretty good supporting character. Mm-hmm. He actually has a really big part in the Clone Saga too.
Right. I can just want to remind people, especially if you're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, testing a serum on yourself is never a good idea.
Like, I don't get it. No one ever.
It never ends well for you.
Best case scenario, your plan worked, but then now that you have like a god complex,
right? That's the best, and that best scenario never happens.
Never happens.
Never happens.
And if it happens, it's horrific, like Invisible Man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it drives you insane.
Right. So, yeah, let's not touch that. Let's not do that. But yeah, the thing that gets me about Shed was just how brutal it was. He literally eats people.
Yeah.
And it is a brutal thing. And again, in a way you can kind of, you can see where Marvel and DC borrow and take characters from each other. So in a way, up front, you might be like, oh, well, it's just like Killer Croc. Well, no, because this guy you actually feel for.
Yeah. Killer Croc's just a monster. Mm-hmm. This guy is such a conflicted character.
Yeah, and that when Spider-Man deals with him, he's always trying to connect to Connors. Like in those issues, and when he comes across him, he's like he's literally, there's a scene where he's literally in front of the foster parents' house, trying to keep Connors from going in there and getting Billy.
Right.
And the lizard from getting Billy. And he's like, Connors, come on, I know you can hear me. I know you can do it, right? And I'm reading this stuff and I'm thinking to myself, okay, even when he confronts Billy, the lizard confronts Billy, I'm like, all right, Connors will stop him. It's not going to happen. He's not going to kill this kid.
Because that's how it was for so many years. It was, we're going to flirt with it, but we're never going to do it because you don't do that in comics.
Yeah, we're not. He's not going to kill his own son. Can't do that. And even they don't, they kind of hint at him like, oh, no, okay, maybe the kid's still alive. No. The next issue, they're like, oh, no, he's dead. Like, he was dead. He did it. And yeah, man, that was a lot, yo. That
it really was.
I'm not gonna shock. I was very like I said. I think the gauntlet was just done really, really well. And it's if you want to get where that's at, and then read like I said, the issue where Connors is literally talking. He doesn't know that Peter's in the bodies, but he's talking to as literally he's talking. He's in a cell next to the dying body of Dr. Octopus, and he kind of reaches out and talks to him. He literally tells me, he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna die soon, so I feel like I can tell some. I want to tell somebody." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm back. I'm here. For the longest time they don't believe me, but I'm here." And even when he's leaving, like Peter thinks about trying to break Lizard out and thinking that he can help him because he's like, "Hey, if Connors is in control, this will be the one guy whom I can trust and help him." But then Connors just hisses at him. He doesn't let anybody else know because he's just like, this is his punishment.
Right.
And yeah, man, it's just that got me, man. I'm reading that shit like, damn, that's okay. You guys are some assholes.
It's messed up, man.
It's messed up. So
Dan Slott's messed up.
Yeah. Dan Slott is asshole when it comes to Peter. Like but it's great stuff to read.
Oh, it's great for us.
Yeah, great for us. Great for us. Next character we have on here, Shocker.
Okay, so the Shocker was my placeholder for all, because this is kind of the line here.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the workaday supervillains. It's all the ones who never really had, fantasies about taking over the world or killing the Spider-Man. It was guys who just wanted to do a job. There's a great series by Nick Spencer, who's currently writing Captain America, Superior Foes of Spider-Man. It's like the Loser Six. Shocker's in there, Boomerang. There's a new Beetle. Like, it's just all these characters. Like, we just wanted. This just happens to be the way we earn our money.
Mm-hmm.
We're not like maniacal, laughing supervillains who want to go play King of the Mountain.
Right.
Want to make some money, keep the lights on. Maybe you want ourselves something nice. And like the Shocker, like the powers he has, the suit he wears, it's all very cool. It's all very. But he's just an inventive guy who's like, I can build this and I can rob people.
Right.
And you can tell he doesn't take it that seriously because he wears a fucking quilt. The quilt keeps him from dying from using his powers, but it's still a quilt.
Right. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, you're right. It is.
Like he and like these other characters will appear in like larger villain groups sometimes, but most of the time they're just like, oh, those guys are a joke. Like, fine, we'll be a joke. Just leave us alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, his main thing is to come out there and rob people and steal things.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he doesn't have any actual powers himself. It comes to a suit.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not like some superhuman. You call him a super villain, but it kind of reminds me of, I think it was later on in the Amazing Spider-Man run, Spider-Man ended up, I think it's like 698 or something like that. He ends up punching out, I think this is when actually Ock is as Spider-Man. He punches out this guy who's trying to rob this store and then realizes that it's just a faker. It's just some guy with 2 water cannons as guns and things like that. And that's kind of what Shocker is, but actually serious. Like, he actually has things that actually work.
Like, he's an actual engineer. He built this device. They call them, Vibroshock gauntlets?
Yeah.
It's
the
like
Vibro Smashers.
Concentrated air. Like, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's science-based. It's another reason why I love the Spider-Man villains, because a lot of them are science-based.
Yeah.
And it just happens that he just wants to rob people.
Yeah, that's a really interesting fact you brought up. I mean, obviously we have our idiots, the scorpions or rhinos and things like that. But you also get a bunch of people who actually are very, very intelligent, very, very smart. And that adds a lot of complexity to these characters, because then you got people who can then try to match witch with Peter Parker, but then it also shows you how smart Peter Parker is.
Right.
Right? And by making them scientists, it doesn't seem too weird. Like, sometimes you get weird with Batman villains in that, okay, cool, but so now Joker can fight, or now all of a sudden, like, Penguin and Two-Face are super smart and can figure out everything. Like, it becomes...
so now Bane's a chemist.
Yeah, he's like, they're a jack of all trades. Here, you have villains that, like you said, they start off being builders. They might not be and super smart, but maybe they are really good at inventing things, or they're very good at a certain element of or a certain part of science, or you get later on we get into the Craven, you get somebody who's just he's a crazy person, but you also get somebody who's just who has an understanding of hunting and certain things. Like with the Spider-Man villains, if they're good at something, they're very, very good at it. Shit, you even get to Rhino, he's good at running through walls.
Very, very good at it.
And that is what he's really good at. So you get somebody like Shocker, and like you said, it's just one thing. Hey, listen, man, like you get this from some of these villains, like, listen, I just want to rob people.
Just want to rob people. That's it.
Why are you always in my business, Spider-Man? Just trying to rob people.
How about you leave me alone?
Right. So, real name Herman Schultz. First appearance is the Amazing Spider-Man 46. Funny thing about the first the Amazing Spider-Man when you first started, like they had like a different villain every week, every issue. So there's a lot of these villains just came from there, and
Lee and Ditko, a lot of hits, man.
Yeah,
not many misses.
No. I mean, when you go through the list, like you can go to Wikipedia and see the list of Spider-Man villains, and what they do is they list them out by their appearance in the Amazing Spider-Man, and it literally starts at number 1 and just keeps going through the list. Let me see if I can find it. Because it's again, we're going to cover most of these, but you see it, you go by their list. So just from issue 1, again, almost every issue. So you get the Chameleon, you get Vulture, Tinkerer, Dr. Octopus, Sandman, Lizard, Living Brain, Electro, Big Man, Mysterio, Green Goblin. That's in the first 14 issues right there. Oh, Kraven the Hunter in 15.
That's
Scorpion
crazy.
in 20. So up the first 20 issues, you get mostly all the big names right there. And they're still going on. I mean, this is 1964. 63 and 64. That's pretty fucking good.
That's an amazing creative output for 15 straight issues.
Right.
Of new characters.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when I was going through, like I said, we put a list. We don't go through all of these names, but if you want to, just put in list of Spider-Man villains and go to that Wikipedia page and look at how they look at how they do it. I mean, that early run of how they do this. Rhino comes in issue number 41. Shocker's in issue 46. Kingpin in issue 50. Silvermane is in 73. I mean, this is that, like you said, this is an amazing run creatively. Because how many times did you think that they would create something and just drop it? But here you have villains that to this day we're still talking about and are a huge part of the mythos. So kudos.
Right? That's a hell of a batting average.
Yeah, very hell of a batting average.
And guess what? These characters are largely not unchanged, but they nailed the concept the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Go read those early Joker stories. That's not the same character.
No. And what's interesting about, I'm glad you brought that up, because so we're getting to the next character is Electro on the list. And what I love about this, again, I read the Gauntlet issues for them. It starts off with this, and it's a progression of the character.
Right.
Max Dillon is basically a loser. At the beginning of the Gauntlet, he's a fucking loser. He can't control his powers as much. He's in a diner. It starts with him in a diner, and he just wants to eat. He just wants to sit there and just mind his own business. And the waitress touches him or does something. He ends up shocking her by accident. Then everyone in the diner wants to attack him, and he's just like, God damn it, man! I don't want to have to deal with this.
Just wanted a bite to eat.
I just wanted to get a bite to eat. I just want to do this. And he ends up becoming like a man of the people. And he runs this whole thing of, we're going to take down the fat cats, and because what is it, the one of the newspapers getting a bailout, and so we just like, we're going to take it to them, and it's just and the people actually start supporting him, and they actually attack Spider-Man at one point
which is hilarious.
It is hilarious, and it's interesting, and then he gets a boost of his powers, because Spider-Man's just like, come on, man, we've done this before, Electro. I have webbing, you can't. My webbing, you can't. My webbing conducts your. You can't. He doesn't conduct your electricity. We can do this, and then we find out that Electro's actually gotten a boost of his powers.
Right.
and becomes a little bit more dangerous. And that whole thing again, it's just why I like reading the Gauntlet. It's just I actually read it and started feeling. I'm like, damn, I kind of feel for Max Dillon.
You have to, because they just keep evolving these characters, pushing them forward. Mm-hmm. I've never met an Electro story that really was like, oh, it was horrible, ever. He's the inciting incident in New Avengers when they put that team together.
Yeah,
he's the one who, like, the raft was busted open. Electro busted it open. Mm-hmm. He's the quintessential guy for hire, but like you said, like I kept him away from the Shocker level guys because power-wise, he's just a step above.
Right.
Because when focused and when powered up properly, when written properly, he's a real threat to Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's scary.
Yeah, I think. And not to go too far back to Shocker, but his ultimate version is kind of like a running joke through most of Bendis' run. Of, like, at one point, Spider-Man says, "You're going to attack me with your back massagers, and I'm going to lock you up." Like, this is ridiculous. They did it. I think it was something like Bendis did, like, every 14 issues, he'd fight Shocker in, like, a 2-page spread. And eventually Shocker gets the drop on him. And unmasking him, he's like, "I've been getting beat up for the last 3 years by a kid." Right. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." And of course, Spider-Man has to keep antagonizing him. But he's like, "You know that you're a genius, right? You built these things." And he explains, and it's one of the things that I love about Ultimate Spider-Man is that part of it was watching Spider-Man's naivete of being a teenager slamming against the real world. He's like, "I make these for a company. I don't get paid, kid. It's just part of my job." Mm-hmm. It's like, you don't understand the real world works. And it was interesting to see the Shocker in that place, but still regarded, even in universe outside of that one interaction, as a joke by everyone else involved.
Right.
Elektra, however, in the Ultimate Universe is Kingpin's right-hand man, and he kicks Spider-Man's ass a fair amount of times.
Yeah.
But even in our universe, even in the Ultimate Universe, he eventually gets a beat on Electro. And my favorite thing in the world, there was an Ultimate 6 at one point when they do kind of a Sinister 6 in the Ultimate Universe. Spider-Man is fighting him, and he goes, "Wait, who are you?" And then he's powered up and goes, "Far out, it's Naked Electric Guy." And I think that he's. All right, here's a hot question. How do you feel about the original green and yellow Electro costume?
Oh man, like, I like the headpiece.
Be honest.
Because I like the headpiece, but the green is, I don't know, man.
I like it. See, I'm one of the few people probably in America who actually likes this costume. It's so unique.
Well, you know what? They bring
it makes no sense. Green and yellow make no sense.
No. Well, you know what it is? They bring it back in Grim Hunt, and I actually like, because for the beginning of the Gauntlet, he's not in that. He's not in that.
Yeah, he's not in the suit at all.
He comes back in Grim Hunt, and he is in the suit, and I actually kind of liked it. I liked him in that one. So, yeah, man. I don't know. I get people. I don't know, man. I kind of do like it. You know, it's not. It's over the top. It's ridiculous, but you're fighting a guy in a spider costume with webs under his arms.
Also, that too.
So, I mean, yes. Okay. Yeah, man. No, but he is definitely, like I said, you know, in the Gauntlet, he can get past, because Spider-Man. What I like about it is Spider-Man is treating him just like you said. Like, oh, come on, we're doing this again. Come on, man. We've done this dance before, and Max is like, no, we haven't. Not this time. I have more power, and I'm different. He's able to transfer. He basically shocks Spider-Man by traveling through the webs that he fired at Electro. And Spider-Man's like, wait, you couldn't do that before. You know, and that's thanks to the Tinkerer, I believe.
Yep.
And yeah, just gave him an extra boost, and that makes him scary. Makes him
very scary and very capable. And he's one of those characters that, when the writers need to elevate him and make him a real threat, it's easy to do because there's precedent.
Yeah.
But when they need to power him down and be a kind of a guy in a green suit with lightning suspenders, then that's what he is too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the next one on the list is Kingpin, who's he's really more of a Daredevil villain now. It appeared in the Amazing Spider-Man number 50, Wilson Fisk, And I don't know. Like, again, you see him. You definitely see him because it's all in New York. You see him in Spider-Man. To me, my most memorable things about Kingpin in Spider-Man are from the cartoon, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, no, Kingpin is definitely a Daredevil villain, but I wanted to include him on the list because it's important to note this is where he came from.
Yeah, you have to include him on the list. Because like you said, this is his appearance, and he's definitely more of a Daredevil. But I think that in the cartoon, they made him more of they kind of elevated him more.
No, because what the cartoon did, and to an extent what the Ultimate Comics did, they took a lot of the like early Ditko Lee stuff. Like you said, he was introduced in 50. That was part of the time, the storyline that introduced the Magia, the non-Mafia Marvel universe, and that he had control over all the crime that was not part of affiliated with that group.
Right.
So the gang wars that we talk about started because of the Kingpin. He's also he's the first antagonist in the Ultimate Comics, and he and Spider-Man just have a constant back and forth going on to the point where Spider-Man had, I guess, cost him a bunch of money, and so he swings in a restaurant where Kingpin's eating, and they start talking and eating together. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Spider-Man's hitting with the fat jokes and stuff, and he says, and at the end of the conversation, he says, "Young man, have you webbed my feet to the floor?" And he says, "I have." He says, "Why is this amusing to you?" He says, "You know what, Kingpin? You know what, Fisk? You don't get me and I'll never get you." And he jumps out the window. But he's like, "Young man, while we were talking, did you web my feet to this floor?" "Yes, I did."
Yeah. What's interesting about the Kingpin is they do him in the original. I love it because I can't remember who he was talking to. Assumes that he's just a fat guy. He likes, you've mistaken this for fat. It's really muscle. He's literally beating the fuck out of people.
Kingpin beating the shit out of you is terrible. Like the first time they do it in the Ultimate books is like you said, like Peter has the same idea. Like, "Come on, fat man, fat," and he hits him. He goes, "Oh no."
Yeah, right. Oh wait,
this is a huge problem.
Yeah, you're not fat. You're just you're NFL lineman fat.
You play guard for the Saints,
right?
That's what's happening here,
right? And and he becomes again. You have him appearing in different roles in Spider-Man comics, but like you said, at this point, become, even though he's been introduced as this character, he's become more of a Daredevil villain. And again, that's why you see when the rights went to Marvel for Daredevil, Kingpin went with them and didn't go with Sony for Spider-Man, and that's why even though he appeared in here, like you said, but you still have to include him in here because again, it's all in. Like, there's one point somebody's doing something. I can't remember what issue. I've read so many Spider-Man books over the last 2 weeks. But they're going to do something, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, we only got to worry about 2 things." Oh no, it actually is when Peter's in Dr. Octopus. He's leading the team of villains to break in to the police department to steal something to one of Dr. Octopus's Octobots, and he tells the villains, like, don't kill any of the cops. One, because he's actually Peter Parker, doesn't want dead cops in his hand. But he's like, listen, if we just do this now, we only got to deal with either Spider-Man or Daredevil. The Avengers won't come in because they'll leave it to them. So if you don't kill anybody, it won't get elevated to the heavy hitters. So that's what you have. You have, when it's New York, you're gonna get a crossover between Daredevil and Spider-Man because that's their home. That's their home. That's what they do. I want to say, let me see what we have left on here. We still got, don't get me wrong, we have a lot left on here.
Yeah.
Outside the ladies, well, there's a couple of them here that aren't fucking batshit insane. But this next guy, I didn't realize it until I read some of the stuff. It's been such a long time. Kraven is batshit insane.
Yo, Kraven's nothing to fuck with.
Sergei Kravinoff is
yeah, and by the way, just because right now, Kraven 2, all you knockoff Kravens, you don't count.
Oh no.
There's one Kraven.
There's one Kraven. The Kraven that again, the Kraven story that everybody reads is Kraven's Last Hunt. And listen, all right. We're telling you that Kraven is crazy, and we're telling you this because if you read Kraven's Last Hunt, it leaves no doubt in your mind that he's out of his mind.
Yep.
It's fucking crazy. Craven decides that the only way that he can beat Spider-Man, and it's honestly it's interesting because I would love to talk to Dan Slott about this, but it seems like this is like an early lead into Superior Spider-Man and what Dr. Octopus does.
I see what you're saying.
And he finds that the only way he can beat Spider-Man is to actually become Spider-Man and be better as Spider-Man than Spider-Man is. And the crazy thing is, he does it. But the really crazy part is, he does it. At the end, he decides, all right, I'm done. I'm happy now. I can kill myself and die happy. Because I know I beat the Spider by becoming better than the Spider-Man. And Kraven's Last Hunt is just... holy shit, man. Like, I know I've read it before, but good
If
God.
you haven't read it in a while, it will catch you off guard.
Good God, man. You know? I have found not in the cities, but in the I have found dignity not in the cities, but in the jungles. I have found honor in the in civilized, but not in the civilized, but in the primal. I have found mortality. I have found meaning in the hunt, but I cannot escape time forever. Herbs and roots and potions cannot rejuvenate the dying spirit or heal a heart crushed by the weight of corrupt age. I will die soon. I must die soon, but not yet. Yeah, this dude is out of his fucking mind.
Yep.
He ends up capturing Spider-Man and drugging him and burying him alive. Then he takes over as Spider-Man and goes and hunts down Vermin. I think was that the name of
it's Vermin.
Vermin, and captures him and defeats him, and then that's just what he is. The Spider lies in the grave, hundreds of miles from here, down in the darkness, blasted into oblivion by my hand. My greatest enemy, my greatest tormentor. That black, hideous, beautiful beast, because that's when Spider-Man had the black costume on, so it's not being racist, by my hand. But it's not enough to simply destroy him. I must become him. I must prove myself superior to him and laugh in the face of his hovering ghost. So now I see through the spider's eyes. I wear the spider's skin. I crawl. Now I am the spider. He is out of his mind.
Any questions?
Out of his mind. Like it... Is at one point when Spider-Man comes back and it's he's talking to Spider-Man and he's looking at him and he like reaches out to like touch him like out of love. Like it's almost, remember that panel we read about Joker and about how, you know, Batman looking into the Joker's eyes and he sees love. Like it's almost like that, and you're just like, oh my God, like Kraven is out of his goddamn mind. He's like, oh, my triumph frightens you, doesn't it? You know the game is over and you've lost. Oh, there's still a world out there for you to torture and feed upon, entrails to chew up, minds to spit out. But you know that you no longer have Kraven in your power. That not only scares you, it saddens you. And in some strange, inexplicable way, it saddens me too. And this is where he reaches out to kind of like... he reaches out to put his hand under Spider-Man's chin. You recoil. Why? Does my affection embarrass you? No, it's not that. It's just that the game isn't quite done. Not yet. Like it's almost... It's crazy because it comes back into Grim Hunt. Because his wife and his daughter and his half-brother Chameleon get involved, and they all come together because they're basically going to the Kravinoffs are the ones that are behind the gauntlet. They're the ones that have captured Madam Web and tortured her. They're the ones that have kind of feeding information and poking and prodding Spider-Man villains to kind of wear him down. And their whole idea is they're going to capture Spider-Man and use his blood to bring back Kraven. And the interesting thing about this is Kraven kind of doesn't want that, because to him, he had a good death. Like him killing himself, it wasn't out of defeat. It was out of victory. Like he looked at it like,
it was a
celebration. Won. Yeah, I won. Craven, I think, realized something that some other that I've never seen any other villain realize that their obsession with the hero has this hold over them that keeps them from ever being happy.
Right.
And so Kraven realizes this and is like, I have to prove to myself that I am better than Spider-Man. I can only do that by being Spider-Man and being better at being him than he could. And once he does that and realizes he does that, he's like, it's done. It's over. I'm not going to fight you anymore. I'm over. He literally says, you have no more power over me.
I have nothing to prove to you.
Yeah. And Spider-Man's just so confused. Like, what? You took 2 weeks of my life. You buried me alive. You did all this stuff. What do you mean you have, and Kraven's just like, oh no, it's okay. It's fine. We're good. We're done now. It's infuriating to Peter. He just can't go out and do what you have to do. And Kraven puts a gun in his mouth and shoots himself to death and kills himself. You know? It's, like at one point, let's see, the spider's alive and there will undoubtedly be other survivors up in opposition, but it is no longer my concern. At one point, like Vermin had knocked down Spider-Man. He's killed before the kill, and Vermin rushes out. Kraven, after saying this, goes over to Spider-Man. Let me help you up. He then helps Spider-Man up the stairs. A good man, I think. My spider is gone now. There's only a man. A good man, I think. How strange that I haven't been able to see that until now. No matter. I do see. And seeing Spider-Man, I thank you and I bless you. If one such as a Kraven give a blessing. And Spider-Man's like, Kraven, I don't understand. It's like, of course you don't understand. You know? And it's like I said, reading Kraven's Last Hunt. And they keep him dead for a while. They keep him dead.
They keep him dead for a good long time.
Yeah, he's not dead. He doesn't come back until a Grim Hunt. Let's see. And again, he's not happy with.
He's infuriated.
He's infuriated with his wife for bringing him. He is, and later on killing her, snapping her neck. Like it's just he's not happy that he's back. He's like, yo, you bring me back, and it's like, first of all, they kill the wrong Spider-Man. They kill Kane. They killed the wrong one, and you know, it's just like he's just infuriated with everybody being so incompetent around him, and it's just like he fights Spider-Man, but at the same time, it's like his heart isn't in it anymore because it's like, I've already done this. I won. What have you guys done? You guys brought me back when I didn't want to be brought back, and yeah. So Kraven's also another one of the original members of the Sinister Six. So there's that. We have him in here. I did mention him. Chameleon is his first appearance as the Amazing Spider-Man #1. He's actually Kraven's half brother.
Right. And he has part in. Okay, so Spider-Man, like we said, has a very depressing past. Sometimes a lot of the things that happened in his life are very sad. We all know the origin. Hopefully, they won't be retelling it with Homecoming. What Chameleon has done to Spider-Man some of these times, it makes you want to. It's. I get it, and I put him on here because of the horrific things he's done, the parts he's played in just helping unravel Spider-Man. Hold on, I'm trying to find the issue numbers here.
Well, you're finding that. Like, one thing he doesn't, even in Grim Hunt. At one point in Grim Hunt, he makes himself look like he's Ezekiel, and he's like trying to. He's leading Spider-Man to a trap. Spider-Man doesn't know until it's too late. He's like, "Hey, yeah, we'll go get Venom because the Kraven elves are hunting spiders. So let's get Venom. Let's get anti-Venom. We'll get all these people." And Spider-Man's like, "Yeah, we'll do that. It's a good idea." And he gets there, he's like, I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you. I'm leading you in a trap. I'm really a chameleon. I'm not Ezekiel. It's just, he tortures him. It's just evil.
So he was being used by Green Goblin, but he still did this. He made robots that pretended to be Peter's dead parents. When Poseidon figured it out, he almost beat Chameleon to death. He broke his brain, left him in a corner repeating, I'm nothing. What happened was he loosened up the repressed memories of his childhood and of being abused by his older half brother Craven, just beating the shit out of. But it kind of informs, like you said, the thing you just read, the sadistic side of him, and that's what he is, man. He's not someone on this list who will physically go toe to toe with Spider-Man, but he will fuck with his brain consistently.
Yeah. And yeah. And then the entire Cravenall family is fucking nuts.
It's a weird family.
It's a weird family. They're very nuts. Again, read Grimhunt. Read all of Gauntlet and then read Grimhunt after you read Craven's last hunt. And it's it's like you said, like here's another panel from Craven's last hunt. I killed you, Spider-Man, buried you, and after I killed you, I took your place. You drugged me, Craven, threw me into a state simulating death. You could just as well have been dead had I wished it. I only allowed you to live so that you could know that I killed you. That in donning your costume and replacing you, I proved myself in all ways you are superior. That's the other thing, too. Craven doesn't use... He hunts, but he doesn't use guns. So, Spider-Man in the last hunt knew something was different because Craven shows up with a gun. He's like, wait a minute, you don't use guns. What are you doing? Nah, not this time. All bets are off. No longer playing. He had a plan, and he executed it. And yeah, man, yeah. The Craven. Like, how many other Cravens do they make? Do they do? I know that none of them. We said none of them count, but
they don't count. It was Craven. Hold on, I'm gonna go back to his. I just pulled up his Marvel database page because I was looking for that chameleon line. Okay, so there's the Grim Hunter was his son. There's Craven the Hunter, another son. There's, I guess his daughter Anna. Mm-hmm. And then there was a Craven clone, I believe. 90s were weird.
Yeah, so they have, I see it's Sasha, his wife, Anna, his daughter. They had Alusha. Yeah, so they have all these other Craven. You're right, and they're all in Grimhunt. And I think what happened in Grimhunt, they basically whittle that down to basically just Anna left.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, like it's a great way if you want to just get the essence of Craven, read Craven's Last Hunt, and then read Grimhunt, and you got it all. It's all there. Next one we have Sandman. Again, there's another one. I know you want to talk about his ultimate character. I'll go in with again Gauntlet. Issues 615 and 616. Who like this? They were just evil when writing this stuff. You have here you have this little young girl who is you at one point you're thinking, okay, maybe it is Flint Marco's daughter. It's weird. I didn't think he had a daughter. What's going on? Did he kill her mom and something like that? What's going on? You find out what happened was he kidnapped this girl. I think his mother had her mother had been writing to him in prison, and so he began thinking that he was the girl's daughter. I mean, the girl's father. He became more powerful and being able to control, his powers, sand-based powers. His duplicates became sentient on their own and end up killing the child's mother and everything. Like, it becomes sad. And you realize that Flint is also fucking crazy. Like, they don't have an Arkham for Spider-Man villains, but they might need one.
His name isn't even Flint.
Right. That's the name we go with.
Crazy person.
It's not. But yeah, he kills Kim's mother, the lawyer, and then there's a promoter or something like. But it's not him. He doesn't know. Like, he's literally going around for like the first book and a half. You're literally going, Spider-Man, just leave him alone. He's on the island with this little girl. He says it didn't do it. Maybe he didn't do it. Like, you're really believing him because it's adamant that he didn't do it. He didn't go out there and kill them. He was shocked that her mother was dead. Like, it was just like what's going on? And then one of his duplicates goes, "Oh no, we killed that bitch." He's just like, "What? What's going on here? So yeah. You said that you really liked his Ultimate version.
Right. So the ultimate version, he's a lot less developed. He's actually a mute former criminal who vanished from the criminal justice system and was being tested on because in the Ultimate Universe, a lot of these characters were born because people were trying to replicate Steve Rogers' super soldier serum.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's sold to Roxxon, and I guess in the aftermath of a Doc Ock fight, Shields finds him. It's just him in a room. It's in a room full of sand. And he's just able, and I like the way you just used there because he's less, and like you said, like that's a very sad story, but there's a lot of like vacillation, and his history is a little weird because he's been an Avenger in Sinister Six, but in the Ultimate Universe, he was just a force of nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what made him the scariest to me. It was a depiction of him that I really didn't expect given what we've seen in 616.
Right. I think that does make the character interesting because again, some of these characters you think about them. You know, his first appearance would Amazing Spider-Man 4. You think about them and they're kind of silly. You're like, oh, Sandman, whatever. But then when you start saying, hey, we'll make you a force of nature. You know, because another one you can put in there. What was it? Is it Hydro Man?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Just you look at them and they're like, whatever. This is silly. But if you make them a force of nature, and you realize how powerful nature can be, and that's what they kind of did a little bit with the Gauntlet. You just see, like, again, it's another one of those things where Spider-Man just going around. Oh, I'll deal with this character. I'll deal with Sandman and take care of him like I always do. Then he realizes that he's learned some new tricks.
It feels almost like Peter's like us in that book, like another Sandman story.
Mm-hmm. And then you realize that, oh no, this is a different Sandman story. And he's way more dangerous and scary. And holy shit, how am I going to get out of this? You know? And it's so funny. Yeah, Yeah. Really fucked up. Let's see. Who do we have next on the list? Here's an interesting one. Mysterio. Quentin Beck. Amazing Spider-Man number 13.
Unpopular opinion alert. I'm not the biggest Mysterio fan.
Yeah, me either. I didn't have a lot written down for him. I mean, he's in. Like, as a matter of fact, even in the Gauntlet, I think he only gets like one issue, maybe two.
Right.
He just illusions, you know. I mean, I guess maybe this just hasn't really been a good one.
Well, what's part of it is that some of his better stories were Daredevil stories. Like Quentin Beck, like they have one where he's dying and ends up committing he's committing suicide in front of Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a character who I think if rebooted could be really, really powerful, especially with what movie effects have done today. But it's someone whose technology kind of passed by because when he came out, he's a special effects coordinator who was been disgraced in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. In the 60s and 70s, that's really there was a movie called FX. Like we get it, like the appeal of not knowing how things are made. In 2016, it's hard to be like, oh, no, that's a green screen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But he ends up dying and comes back from the dead, and eventually, he reveals that he was part of maybe he faked his death. They don't know, but they never really go into even how he came back, but he's just back, and I don't know, man. He's also, but you think about it, see, and I talk myself in and out of this character because you think more about it. He's the first character to breach the Ultimate Universe. Mm-hmm. Because when you read Ultimate Spider-Man, the Mysterio there is an avatar of our Mysterio. Right. The entire Spider-Man crossover, when Peter and Miles meet for the first time, happens because of Mysterio.
Well, and I was about to say, like, there might not be some great Mysterio stuff, but I think there's a great story that can be told. I just pulled up. I pulled up the one page, like even the Gauntlet. It's like they call me Quentin Beck, the one and only Mysterio, or maybe the real Beck is dead. I wouldn't trust me on this. I lie about everything. So it's like you actually have a really interesting thing about, hey, because with these other characters, we're pretty much going with their main guy, because some of these other characters have taken on mantles. Except when we get to Hobgoblin, that was another interesting one. And taking up mantles, and several characters have done this. With Mysterio, yeah, it's happened, but can it be real? Is it the real thing? Because if you make it less about special effects and more about illusions, which is what I think they try to do here, like in the Gauntlet, he's basically manipulating both sides of the mafia wars. I mean, he's setting people up with dye packs. He's doing all this other stuff, but he's also manipulating them because he's going to kill them all anyway. And it's a funny story. It's like, let's see, hey boss, I gotta ask, why are we taking the time to rig these guys with fake deaths when they're going to die anyway? Because it's better to have marks thinking that they're the players. Like, I think there can be really interesting and good stories there with Mysterio. And I'd be interested in seeing what they do going forward. Like, if they put him in the movies, I'd be interested in seeing what they do with him. I think you can do something there and kind of make him, like, I think of, you know what it reminds me of, Mysterio reminds me of? It reminds me of those Now You See Me movies. Where there's an interesting, good concept there, right, but they drop the ball on him. And I think that's what it is with Mysterio. Like, I think that there's, and again, I'm not even saying that he's bad in the Gauntlet. I think he's done really well, and his Gauntlet story is great. It's pretty good, but the other villains they're better stories, and I just think that there's missing something. There's like what you said with Chameleon, with the way he tortures Peter and Spider-Man.
Yeah, why can't that be Mysterio?
That can be Mysterio. With the stuff that Mysterio can do, like I think Mysterio, like, I don't know, so many characters have found out Peter's Spider-Man's true identity. I always wonder what would happen if you had Mysterio do that and really write some really great stories around that. Let Mysterio find out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and just let him deal with that, and with the kind of torture thing. Because even in with the Gauntlet, they kind of make him just a guy out to do one last score so he can retire. Like, his whole idea, his whole plan of the Mafia War, just so he can get the money and he can go buy his own island and do that. That's all he wants. And I'm like, yo, you can make him so much more. Like, every now and then I think the way you make these villains better is when you elevate them to a bigger threat. And right now I still feel like kind of Mysterio is kind of like on that.
He's waiting on his big story.
He's waiting on that big story, right?
I see what you're saying.
So we'll see. Like I said, not a bad character. Just I see wasted potential. Here's the next one. I'll let you take most of this one because I didn't get to read. I don't read too many Vulture stories. So you have Adrian Toomes as Vulture. First appearance, Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man #2.
Yeah, there aren't that many Vulture stories.
Yeah,
there aren't that many great ones. I think the Vulture is good because it's my mantle, like you said, it's one of the ones that didn't pass a little bit, not too much, but it always comes back to Adrian Toomes. Mm-hmm. I was a huge fan of his depiction in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, where they made him like a corporate rival of Norman Osborn, mm-hmm, and that he had invented this technology, Norman had stolen it, and it gave him more mythos to me. It's interesting because it's hard to say that, he's an integral. People who want to say that Vulture isn't the best spider villain, can't argue with him. Mm-hmm. I can't, because he's a guy in a flight suit, an old guy in a flight suit. But the more you realize that he's again the step above those workaday villains. Mm-hmm. Does he just want to make some money? Yeah, that's 100% part of it. But he's also like very, very, very equipped to possess such a unique challenge because Spider-Man can't fly.
Right.
You start talking about the rest of these villains, like, wait a second. Scorpion, Lizard, Shocker, Electro, Kraven, Sandman, Mysterio. This is our first flying villain. Mm-hmm. This is our first one. Mm-hmm. And it takes Spider-Man every time out of his comfort zone. Right. They actually had a plot in the 90s where he could steal people's age, and so they were able to make him, I guess, different and scarier that way. Mm-hmm. But I've kind of liked what Slott has done with him, where he is now passing on his technology to, like, there's Vulture gangs.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that's been happening. You see, we'll get into this when we get into the Goblins, but when you start having these villains, like it's another way that kind of differentiates Batman's villains from Spider-Man's villains. Spider-Man's villains start franchising themselves.
Yeah.
And it seems funny when you mention it, but then you're like, oh, this is actually a problem.
Yeah, he's figured out how to use the magnetic powers the magnetic harness that lets him fly to give him super strength.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think that, it's one of those villains that, there's maybe not a standout story, but I love what Slott's done with him. Because, okay, so this is another thing about people forget about these characters. Like, we said that, we love a large, mysterious story. Some of these characters are never built to carry a story by themselves.
No.
That's why you and I are going to talk about Sinister Six next. But these characters acting together in concert is what creates the problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so, is the Vulture the ultimate spider villain? No. But he's definitely an important role, and he definitely plays an important place in the mythos.
When you start adding, like you said, on their own, Spider-Man's villains, okay, he can take care of them easily. When you start adding to them, some of them. When you start adding to them together, now you got a problem.
A real problem. And especially now, because this character, like you said, this is what was the first appearance? Was it Spider-Man 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this character is still active in 2016, but I like how they've reinvented him to being almost a mob boss.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his own little crew. He's like, no, like the Vulture kids.
Right.
And they work for him, and I think that's a natural progression of a character over 50 years.
Yeah. Now, in the Gauntlet, they do have the Jim Lee Natal version of the Vulture, which is just honestly just frightening. And he's actually more of a mutated former mob boss that can a gangster who can basically vomit as like it's not the Vulture. All right, that's not the Vulture we're talking about. I'll find some issues for Vulture that he appears in, but you can also just read what we're going to do next. Is he mentioned it? So do you want to talk about Dr. Octopus first, and then do Sinister Six, since we'll have covered all of them? Want to do that first, and then do?
Sure, let's do that. I'll check it out.
All right, so
I'll pull up my doc notes.
Yeah, so next character we're gonna put here just because we would have covered all of the Sinister Six. If we're gonna, these are not a ranking. I remember when I first asked you this, I was like, to me there's two characters that you could put near number one. And I'm okay with putting Ock here, I think, because the number one really has to be number one. But Dr. Octopus is another one of those just this is almost the this one, every villain has one, every hero has one of those villains that has literally beaten them. And what Dr. Octopus does, obviously, in Amazing Spider-Man 698 through 700, and then with Superior Spider-Man, both defines, the strengths of Dr. Octopus, but then also the strengths of Peter Parker, and why Peter is Spider-Man, and why he cannot be replaced. But yeah, Dr. Otto Octavius. First appearance, Amazing Spider-Man number 3. And how do you want to start with this one? Because there's so much to do with Otto.
Well, let's go over the powers first.
Okay. All right. So his was it the mental ability to control? Well, it was an accident, radiation accident, allows him to mentally control these 4 metallic arms, and obviously with his 2 arms, 2 legs, that makes him Dr. Octopus. I'm not gonna lie. As a kid, I was wondering. I was like, "What? Shouldn't he have 8 metal arms?" And it didn't hit me. I was like, "Oh, you fucking beautiful bastard!"
He gets there.
Yeah.
He gets to 8.
Yeah, he gets to 8. I mean, but so you have that, and then also, I guess it's not really a power, if you will, but his genius as well. I think.
Yeah, and something that Slott really pointed out is that he's kind of the anti-Peter.
Absolutely.
He's the other side of that coin.
You get that with the
Superior, yeah.
You get that with Superior. And he really is anti-Peter Parker. Very intelligent, very smart. You have these titanium steel artificial tentacle arms that he can control with his mind. And it's interesting that they really play up on that, and having him mentally be able to control these things over distance. And that plays a key part in those Amazing Spider-Man runs where he takes over Peter's body. But even earlier on, like he breaks out of prison sometimes just by mentally calling his arms, and I'm like, how do you guys not lock these things up better? Like, I never
Why is
asked,
there not a better protocol in place?
why don't you just melt them?
Yeah, right?
Like, why didn't
Destroy
everybody
the arms.
just? That's the first step when you capture Dr. Octopus, right? Destroy the arms. Like, I don't understand that. Yeah, he's had 3 different ones: the original titanium ones, he had adamantium ones, and then our carbonadium ones.
Yeah, I think it's from it's the metal from Omega Red.
Yeah, there we go. Which is just like Omega Red's ones. So.
Yeah.
So we got the powers, and so one of the issues I've read were Amazing Spider-Man 88 and 90, and that's actually, you forget, like, again, with the joking that Peter Parker does as Spider-Man, you forget some of the horrible things that happen to him, and you forget how many people that are close to him die. Forgotten Amazing Spider-Man 88 and 90, the death of Captain Stacy, Gwen Stacy's dad. It's pretty much due to Dr. Octopus.
100%.
Akin and Spider-Man are fighting. Captain Stacy's there. Parts of the building fallen in Stacy. And there's another one of those things where Captain Stacy kind of also reveals, while dying in Peter's arms, that he knows that he is Peter Parker. And he asks him to basically take care of Gwen now that he's going to die.
I know everyone thinks it's safer not to tell people around them that you're superheroes. People tend to tell you that they knew on their deathbed, so tell them earlier. Mm-hmm. Maybe you'll stay alive.
Yeah, maybe. I think 88 and 90 are also known as, just especially for that time period, this is actually a really well done Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus fight.
Oh yeah,
drawn. It's for that time period. It looks amazing. It's great. During this time, and I guess we'll do this, and then we'll get into Superior Spider-Man stuff. But it's also, after being defeated by Spider-Man 3 times, Dr. Octopus decides, hey, you know what? Maybe we should work together. And he decides to form the original Sinister Six. So it's Dr. Octopus, it's Vulture, Electro, Kraven, Mysterio, and Sandman. The only issue is ego gets in the way that you would normally expect from supervillains, and they, even though they're the Sinister Six, they decide to attack Spider-Man one-on-one, and he easily defeats them. That's why I like it when they return the Sinister Six, and they replaced Kraven. Oh, who did they replace Kraven with? Fuck, I can't remember who they replaced Kraven with in the second.
On the second iteration.
The second iteration, but it was Amazing Spider-Man 334 and 339. They replaced him. And that time, it becomes a little bit harder because they work together. But Otto is... they work together that time, but Otto is trying to double-cross him anyway.
Because he's Otto.
Because he's Otto, and that's what he does. And he's constantly thinking about things like this. And so he double-crosses them. Oh, God, who is the... Oh, it's Hobgoblin. That's what it was, wasn't it? There we go. He has Hobgoblin replaces Kraven.
Because Kraven had killed himself.
Yes. So this is after Kraven's last hunt, and technically Kraven realized that it was time to hey, you know what? I already won. I'm out. You guys had fun doing this. You know what? I'm not going to be obsessed. I'm just going to kill myself.
Yeah, he showed them.
Right. He's nuts, guys. I told you he's fucking nuts. But yeah, I mean, Otto's one of those characters, and we mentioned it before how, you know, Spider-Man deals with some of these characters and they're dumb. Otto's different in that not only is he smart, but in many ways, and you see this throughout Superior Spider-Man, he believes he's smarter than Peter and smarter than Spider-Man. And
he's smarter than everyone.
Yeah.
He's smarter than Tony Stark, and he comes close.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about, I guess we can keep talking about it, but yeah, man, Dr. Octopus for me he's kind of evolved, especially with the slot stuff, especially with, you take the long view of all of his actions. He is kind of the anti-Spider-Man. Like he's Spider-Man he's Peter Parker gone wrong. Mm-hmm. He's someone who's mistreated as a youth, But as they point out so beautifully in those Superior Spider-Man issues, he never had an Uncle Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's always fighting for recognition and for acceptance and to be powerful. It results in him getting killed by a clone of Peter Parker, Kane.
Mm-hmm.
They bring him back because it's comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And he has just, at this point, and on a macro level, the number one character we're going to talk about had gotten elevated in the Marvel strata, so they needed someone to act as Peter's perfect foil, and I think they almost improved it.
Yeah, I mean, so this goes into this will be a little mini rant, not too long. 'Cause I've done this before, and just why it's important to let creators tell the story they're going to tell. Again, if it turns out to be bad, hey, yeah, hold it against them. But you need to tell. I remember so many times when they killed Peter Parker and they had him replaced by by Otto, and people were just like, "Oh, this is terrible! You ruined Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man, not my Spider-Man," and all the other shit. And what people didn't realize is throughout the story they tell through Amazing Spider-Man 698 through 700, and then through Superior Spider-Man is actually defining why Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And they're doing it by letting you realize it the way they're doing it by letting Otto realize that he'll never be the true superior Spider-Man and true superior to Peter through these issues. And it really is at its core a Peter Parker story, even though the main character is Otto Octavius in Peter Parker's body. It's brilliant, because the final act of Peter when he realizes he can't stop Otto from taking over his body and pretend to be him is to flood Otto with his memories and be like, listen, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna be me, you have to be me. You have to protect the innocent. You have to prove that you can be a superior spider. He floods him with images of what happened to him with Uncle Ben dying, and he makes him say the words, with great power must come great responsibility. He makes him do that. And then what you see in Superior Spider-Man is Otto thinking that it's just easy. Well, it's just so easy. I can just do this. It's easy to do this. Even when I talked about it before, when Otto as Peter hits that poser who was pretending to be a supervillain, Otto reacts. He's like, "Oh, so when I fought Peter, he was always holding back."
He appreciates how much restraint Parker had to show with those powers.
Right.
He reflects on it too when he damn near decapitates the Scorpion.
Right. He's like, I didn't know he held back so much during our fight. Because in a way, you can say that part of Otto's disease and what's going on with him is just all the punishment he's taken over the years. So in a way, you can kind of blame Spider-Man. All my vicious attacks and well, shit, this could have happened to me sooner if
he's like, he could have killed me at any point.
Right, but he holds back all the time.
Right. Because Peter Parker's a good man.
Yeah, Peter Parker's a good man, and then you get Otto realizing this about the entire Superior Spider-Man run, and realizing that as much as you think you're smarter than me, as much as you think you can do things better, there's a rhyme and reason to why. Going back to what Dan Slott said about Peter Parker being his own worst enemy, there's a reason why. I mean, Peter Parker's actually we don't think about it as much because he's always laughing and joking and having these comments, but he's a tortured soul. There's so much he keeps in. Like when I was going back and reading some of these issues for this stuff, I forgot how much. Like I'm like, damn, Peter, you're just a fuck up. Like his relationships with women. Oh god, he's just a fuck. But then you think about it, you're like, well, he can't help it though.
Right.
He's the guy that that has to save the kid and has to let the villain go to save the kid in the burning building or save the kid that falls into the water and do all this stuff. That's how at one point I think Otto realizes that Peter's brain is still there because at one point he goes and he saves somebody instead of finishing the job. He's like, what am I doing? Why did I do that? That's what it means to be Spider-Man.
He infected with Spider-Man.
Yeah. You can't do this. You can't just go and talk to people the way you want to talk to, and demand these things. There's a reason why Peter does the things he does, and it might seem stupid on the outside. And I think even in a way, Superior Spider-Man makes you, if you didn't appreciate the choices that Peter's had to make, even if you thought they were dumb, you go ahead and go, oh, but you had to make that choice. And
100%.
Yeah. So
it was an explicit way, because we've talked about this before, but like when you remove a superhero from a comic, you by extracting him, you highlight what makes him special.
Mm-hmm.
This is taking that writ large, because they don't just take him out and make you learn the lesson. They explicitly have his replacement character say, "Shit, I can't be better than him."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's the proxy for the audience who says Spider-Man's stale, Spider-Man's boring.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because Otto realizes, but then, and this is why I say it would be after reading Kraven's Last Hunt and then reading this, I feel like the seeds might have been planted there a little bit, because even Kraven at some point realizes, oh wow, no, this is actually a good man.
Right.
He's a good man. I almost envy. I pity him. Like I don't, okay, I get it now. I understand. And you get the same thing coming with Otto, and it's like I said, at some point we're gonna do a comic book club on Superior Spider-Man, and I think it's necessary, because then it also ties into our number one character, which by now you should obviously know who it is. But we still have a ways to get to before we get to him. But it ties in them. I remember when we talked about it, he was like, well, he technically is the real villain of that story. So I'm like, yeah, okay, valid. All right, we'll get into our next two characters, which are our two female characters on the list. There's more, but we're going to stick with these two. First one is Felicia Hardy, Black Cat, first appearance, The Amazing Spider-Man 194. Didn't start off with powers, but then she got her bad luck powers, which is always funny when her and Spider-Man are there. And at one point, you're like, is it really bad luck powers, or is just Peter really bad around hot, attractive women?
Why not both?
Could be both. This is one of those, like, again, gray area, right?
A lot of it, yeah.
Because she'll do some bad things. Like, even in the Miles book, she's back in the Miles books, and she's trying to figure out who the fuck. She unmasks them. She's trying to figure out who the new Spider-Man is. And it was an interesting line in there. Let me see if I can find it now. Because the interesting thing he says is her in Tombstone is something along the lines of, I don't even know why are we doing this? Like, it's not the Spider-Man. So, but I guess we have to do this because we hate him, right?
Yeah, he's the Spider-Man in front of us.
Yeah. Go on while I try to find this. I'm gonna try to find this thing.
Yeah, Felicia Hardy. She's the daughter of a cat burglar who became a cat burglar herself. She's kind of Spider-Man's Catwoman.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
They date for a while. In the Gwen Mary Jane era. It's interesting because, like you said, she's forced between good and bad guy for such a long time. But I like the current run they're doing with her, because they're putting her firmly back on the bad side.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's some conflict. Yeah, there's some questions, but she sees a vacuum in the underworld and aims to fill it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's been organizing with her intimate knowledge of Spider-Man. So what happened was, when Otto was Spider-Man, he didn't know the nuance of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
He had her arrested. He had her exposed to the Black Cat. He cost her all her money. And Black Cat doesn't know it wasn't Peter.
Right.
Peter can't say, no, Doc Ock had my brain. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
He ruined her life.
Right.
Has put her back on the side away from Spider-Man, which is, and this is the quote at the top that I love in the new run. Hold on, I just lost it for a second. Give me 1 second here. For years, I was this little thief pretending to be a socialite. But this is new. I'm done pretending. This cat's going to be a queen. Queen of thieves, queen of crime, queen of this whole town, and nothing and no one are going to get in my way. Bam, there you have it. You've refocused the character
mm-hmm.
in one speech.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, it's going to be really interesting to see how they play this off, because this is a long, long, long storied history with her being an ally to Spider-Man, but she feels honestly betrayed.
Right. For all the stuff she's worked with him on and done with him. It's literally like if let's say Penguin took over Bruce Wayne's brain and Batman exposed, Selena Kyle and got her arrested and did everything like that. Everything they've been through, that would fuck her up. And take all her money, did all this stuff, and literally left her there. Yeah, Catwoman's going to say, fuck you. That's when she leaves him in that... in Arkham
City.
Arkham City, she leaves and doesn't come back when he's and destroys everything. Here's her in the Miles book. He's younger than I thought he'd be. I can't help but wonder what, says Tombstone. We took him out for a business reason. I feel this overwhelming hatred for him, but yeah, I hate him. I do, but I don't even know him. I get it. The old Spider-Man's kind of out of our reach, but we're still steaming from all the trouble he caused us, and now he's here. And we're taking out our old Spider-Man frustration on the new one. It makes sense. Still, I'd like to think I'm above that. Why? Yeah, they're just, Yeah, that's just, yeah.
This is the life we have chosen.
Yeah, this is what it is.
He puts the mask on, he wears the web, we got to fuck with him.
Mm-hmm. And,
there are worse policies. I mean, for what it's worth, I get it.
No, I do. Like I said, you'll get her more of her in, and you see why the betrayal of Superior Spider-Man is so good, because you see her literally help. But even when she helps Peter, it's not always helping him or it's for her own good. Like, she helps him steal back a vial of his blood from Mr. Negative, who was using it to. It was his dragon breath or whatever it is, which is this toxin that only affects the person whose blood it's used to create it. So they had stolen Spider-Man's blood and were using it so that whenever he comes across this poison, it would only, if there's 50 people in a room in Spider-Man, it would only kill Spider-Man. So he helps her. He uses her to help him get the vial back. She takes it. She says she destroys it, but she keeps it for herself. It's just she's always going to do some things on herself for her own personal use. There is a relationship she had. At one point, I would say during when we get to Venom, when the first appearance of Venom, she comes back. I can't remember where she was at. She had gotten rid of her powers, her bad luck powers, if you will, which actually is a thing. Like, at first I thought it wasn't, but it actually is a thing. And she's shocked to learn that Peter's married to Mary J. And it does not take that well. But yeah, it's a very, like you said, she's his Catwoman, but in a way, I think that I'm very intrigued to see what they do with her next. Does he ever own a solo book?
Right now?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I didn't think so. The other one you had on here is aren't they doing a movie for her or something like that?
That was going to be one of the rumored spin-offs.
Okay. Silver Sable.
From the Spider-Man universe.
Mm-hmm. Now this is one I really don't know much about Silver Sable.
Yeah, I included Silver Sable just because I like, this is kind of Spider-Man's foray almost into like larger. So you've got characters like your Deadpools and your Cables who are kind of mercenaries or whatever. This is his answer to those characters. Silver Sable's father was a Nazi hunter, and she became trained as an assassin and as a hero, pretty much a hero for hire, and she takes over what they call the Wild Pack. So the Wild Pack are bounty hunters, but she not constantly, but often runs into Spider-Man chasing a prey. Mm-hmm. Because they have very little regard for public safety or property damage, and Spider-Man being the hero, that obviously is a point of contention. She's less a supervillain, especially in recent days, and more just kind of she does what it takes. Whoever can afford her, she'll do the job. But she's actually reformed and become a big help to Spider-Man. She was doing Into the Earth. She was helping him try to save the world from Dr. Octopus, and she died.
Mm-hmm.
And
at the hands of another villain on this list.
Yeah, but it was Octopus's plan, and it kind of said, Spider-Man had said, like, this is one of his. He was in the kick of no one dies.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I can save, I'm going to save. And she died directly because of him, and it just was another level of guilt that just slaps Peter with. But I think that we haven't seen the end of it either.
Yeah,
because I really doubt that Slot's going to let this just end this way.
Yeah,
because again, nobody in Madam Web said that she was alive. So
yeah, there's that. Yeah, the interesting thing about this is, and this is why Daredevil and Spider-Man interesting characters are. This Daredevil has Catholic guilt, and Peter doesn't have the Catholic guilt, but he does feel that weight. And a lot of these villains just add on to that. Some of them just because he can't save them. Some of them just because they're just assholes. But some of them are just because he can't save them, and that'll go into. We got anything else we want to do for Silver Sable before we move into the next one?
No, you're good.
That goes to Rhino. So Rhino stands. Rhino is a joke for the most part, right? He's just the muscle. He's got this literally has this superpowered rhino suit.
Yeah, but you're trying to find the ways to not say the word rhino suit.
Right. It's a rhino suit. It's that's what it is. It's a rhino suit that gives him, makes him super strong and he can run through walls. He seems like a joke. All right. First appearance was the Amazing Spider-Man 41. Most time he's used as some muscle and you don't care. You can just throw him in there and you'd be fine, right? There were two storylines that I read that aren't not a lot. They're just 4 issues total. That really, to me, shows you how tragic of a character he can be. The first one was Flowers for Rhino. The Spider-Man Tangled Web number 5 and 6.
Oh man, I forgot. See, I didn't read that for this. I just know that story, man. That's a good book.
Listen. All right. You basically have in here, you have Rhino realizing that he's stupid. And that because he's stupid, it doesn't matter. He's tasked to help save this to help rescue this girl, this woman, Stella, is the daughter of some mob boss, and he's realizing that let me see if I can find the thing when he shows up. He just realizes that, and then you this whole thing where you finally realize how much trouble it is for him being Rhino. They really humanize him. The little things he has to live in the cellar of where he's living at, because if he doesn't, he'll fall through the floor. He has to have a pulley system to get out of his bed, because if God forbid he goes to sleep and he rolls over, he's not going to be able to get up. He's like how everybody considers him a joke. He has to pay women to get them to spend time with him, even though he knows, even though I'm paying them, they're still laughing at me behind my back. Everybody's laughing at me because I'm stupid and I'm a joke, and everybody knows I'm a joke. They're only around me because if I have money, then that's why. He stays with this girl, Stella, and she smiles at him. And he's just like, wow, she actually, it's like a legitimate smile. So then he goes, is it the Tinkerer he goes back to? I think it's the Tinkerer. I
believe so, yeah.
Goes back to the Tinkerer and is like, listen, this is what I want you to do. Because Tinkerer's over here obviously tinkering with shit. And he's like, listen, I want you to make me smarter. I want you to do what you're doing to this monkey over there. You're over here teaching this monkey how to, write music and do all this stuff. I want you to do it to me. I want you to make me smarter. And he actually does. And what's interesting about this is, at first I thought it was going to be a dream sequence. I thought it was going to end with them going, oh no, this was all in Rhino's head. It was all full of shit, and the operation was actually a complete failure, and he thought this entire thing up. What actually happens is it actually happens. He becomes smarter. He actually bests Spider-Man. At one point, he goes, "Yeah, I became so smart. I was able to, get an order of protection against Spider-Man. And Spider-Man isn't allowed within 100 feet of me, Stella loves him. He does, but the problem with the procedure is the procedure works so well. He becomes so smart that nothing even matters anymore to him. And so he goes back to Tinkerer. Is like, I want you to undo everything you did, but actually, you know what? Make me dumber than before. And
it's really sad.
It's so sad. Like when we're talking, when you hear me say this, you're like, oh, this is no. When you read it, it is sad. Very, very, very sad. And you're just like, oh, damn, man. Because he had left crime. Actually, no,
he was done.
Yeah, he was done. And it just it didn't work out, and so he goes back and is like, all right, make me dumber, bring me back. And there's an interesting thing about one thing he says. The one thing he can do is the one thing that he before he had the powers, and one thing that just makes him feel better is running through walls. That's the one thing I can do. That's the one thing that I'm good at, and I never feel as free as when I'm running through walls. Let me see if I can find some of the things I had for that one. Let's see here. Yeah, no, I don't have that one. But so then because who would have thought like some of the most tear-jerking ones would be for a Rhino? The Gauntlet for Amazing Spider-Man 617 and 625. Rhino, Alexei, has found a woman, Oksana. He gets out of prison, and he's like, I'm done. I'm done with crime. I'm gonna go to prison, and I'm gonna do my time. I'm gonna serve my time. I'm gonna hang the suit up. I'm not gonna put it back on. I'm not gonna be the Rhino anymore. Like they even show him at one point. There's a prison break. And people are like, "Hey, Rhino, you gonna come out?" He's like, "No." Can you actually like one of the guards goes and is like, "Hey, don't you leave here?" He's like, "Can I have some more salt?" As a riot is going on, he's like, "I just want some more salt. I'm not
just a little bit more salt.
I'm not going anywhere." He gets released on parole, goes to a diner, and ends up talking to, and it's a very just humanizing conversation he has with this waitress, and they fall in love. The backdrop of this is there's a new Rhino with new technology who kind of worships the idea of being a Rhino, but he realizes that he can't really be the Rhino as long as Alexei is still alive and is there. So at some point he has to beat Rhino. He has to beat Alexei. So the end of 617 ends with like Spider-Man just so confused by this, like you're not gonna fight back, you're not gonna do this, and he says to Spider-Man basically like, listen, to save Oksana, to do what I have to do, I will be a coward for her. I will run. I will go into witness protection. You know what? I will do this for her. I'm not gonna fight this man. He's like, yo, if you put the suit on, you fight this other Rhino, you guys will destroy the fucking city. You can't do it. And Alexis says, okay. And they let it go for like you go on for other issues.
That's the thing that gets you. The story moves. You're like, wow.
Yeah, it's like
he's for a Rhino.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. What's next?
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is great. This is awesome. Rhino got peace. This is one of the few in reading the Gauntlet. This is one of the few villain stories that ends pretty well.
Like, I'll be damned, a happy ending.
Yeah, and then Amazing Spider-Man 625 happens.
Look, man, I don't know. Look, y'all should let that man alone.
Listen.
He asked nicely to be left alone, didn't he?
The other Rhino is still not satisfied. Finds out where they're transporting Alexei and Oksana and attacks. And Oksana is killed. And this is when you realize that maybe you should have left Sleeping Giants alone.
He said you could have it.
Like, it's not even a fight.
He said you could have it. It was over.
That's the thing that kills me. He told this other guy, I can't remember who the other guy's name was, but he told the other guy, you can be the Rhino. It doesn't matter what your name is. He told him, you can be the Rhino. I don't want that life. I'm not about that. It's yours. Take it. Leave me alone. Should have listened to that man. He destroys this dude. It's not.
Like, I know we say things like you kind of have to read it to understand what we're saying. When Chris says destroys, you have to read this book.
And it's gut wrenching because this is where you get Alexei turning back to crime. Because
he didn't want to do it.
And he didn't want to do it. Here's the other thing, and this goes back to just the weight on Spider-Man. Spider-Man was actually like, I'll be damned. I actually got somebody reformed. There's somebody who's actually gonna, who's gonna listen. And he's like, I told him I would get protection, and then Oksana dies. There's a scene. He's trying to stop Rhino from killing this dude. He's trying to, he's got the weapon. He's trying to stop, and he can't do it. And they have this thing where, because the other Rhino, he has like a mechanical suit. It's like the one that Sony actually went with in the movie, and you hear it booting up, and it's like he's got like 3 seconds left before he can boot up and be powered on, and it's not enough time. Rhino destroys him. He runs through him, and it's just, yeah, he's all the way back now. The one thing that stopped him, the one thing that he
would be a coward for her.
Yeah, he would be a coward for her. He took it away from him. It's done. It's like this rivals the Shed story to me, with Lizard, and just seeing.
See, this is even worse than Shed for me because the Lizard was fighting against inevitability.
True.
This is like he forced himself to make the choice to go back. He's like, oh well. You made me do this,
and didn't want to do it. I'm gonna say I think that these were the most that might during the Gauntlet storyline. They might have been the most emotionally retching stories to me, just because it is like they killed his wife. I mean, and he shouldn't do it. But at the same time, you're like, you could have just left the man alone. You could have listened. You could have done
the
that.
Rhino asked you nicely.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't listen. He asked so nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
He's like, here's his panel. He's like, let's see. Do not bother. He's gone. Yeah, I'm going to turn up half of Manhattan waiting to kill you tonight. I'm not going to let that happen. Spider-Man, didn't I make you a promise? I will even be a coward for her. The Rhino is dead. I said those things only to make him stop. Now you make us disappear. And it's like you see them happy. You see this going on. And then she dies. Thank you for loving me, for making me into a man, if only for a little while. Alexei, what happens next is because of you, pointing to Spider-Man. He goes and puts that suit on, and
he blames him. He says, I would have ended this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But you talked me out of it.
The seconds I lay eyes, let's see, the seconds I lay an eye on him, I know that Alexei died on the Triborough alongside his wife. Because the thing running at us isn't human any longer. Not in any way that counts. He can't be. He has no heart. Like, they literally caused almost like a nuclear explosion when him and the new Rhino come together. And he mangles this guy. Like, it comes together. They show Spider-Man getting him, I can't remember what the chick's name is, up out of the city. Because, like, they're gonna, like, his ears are rupturing. Spider-Man's ears are rupturing. He goes to the epicenter of the two Rhinos colliding. Then you come back to the next panel, and you see it. The new Rhino, his suit is done. It is just completely mangled. It's all over. He's like
your brain versus your brain on drugs.
Right. And before this dude is talking cash shit.
Yo, you would have thought this was going to be a fight to end all fights.
Right. All of a sudden it's like, this is impossible. Oh God, help me. This was going on. It's like, Alexei, please stop it. He'll go to jail. He won't come out. I know what you lost. You can still have a second chance. Please. All of this happened because I tried to be something I am not. I will never forgive you. And you have the Spider-Man trying to hold on as Alexei is like, he's like, his Spider-Man suit is coming apart as he's trying to pull back Rhino from doing this. Was he a man who dressed like an animal? Was he an animal pretending to be a man? I don't have a clue, but I know one thing. He loved someone, and it was beautiful. And sometimes I think when something beautiful in this world is taken away with such violence, the universe reacts in kind. And you have Rhino just going, goodbye, Oksana. And he destroyed. The new Rhino is dead. Alexei Savech is dead. Long live the old Rhino. You know, and he goes, he never stood a chance, did he? Which one? Either, both, any of us. Yeah, man. That is... Listen, the Gauntlet it's a good fucking read, man.
Yeah.
They really nail some of these characters, and you get stories like that. Again, 2 issues. That's it. 2 issues.
Told apart from each other.
Told apart from each other.
After the first one, you think it's over.
Mm-hmm. And then go back and read A Flower for a Rhino, Spider-Man's Tangled Web 5 and 6. It's just, like, again, who would have thought 4 issues, separate things, so 2 issues each for storylines for Rhino, some of the best things I've read and just really capture a villain. And they're fucking amazing, man. Like, chills down your spine when you read these. Because again, everybody thinks of it. It's like, it's the fucking Rhino. Who the fuck cares? Right?
Right.
No.
Not this.
Not this. This is different. This is way different. All right, let's move on. Next one's an interesting one. Hobgoblin.
It's complicated.
Yeah, very. So I'm trying to figure out. I was like, yo, what's his real name? It's complicated. All right. It's complicated. Guess it's Roderick Kingsley is the original. Passes it on to, I guess. Passes on to Phil Urich, who is the.
Oh, wow. We're skipping a lot of people.
I know. We got to skip all. I mean, we can go through them. But that's what it, there's a lot, man. The thing about it is, while it's complicated, it's actually kind of a good story.
Especially Roderick Kingsley's story.
Yeah. It's a good story. And you would think that, and I made this mistake as well, because I've always kind of looked at Hobgoblin as just, a Green Goblin wannabe. But it's so much more than that. And I almost like it's like if Green Goblin wasn't crazy.
Yeah, but he was just a straight up businessman.
Yeah, was a straight up businessman. It actually makes him a little bit more dangerous. Not a whole lot, because the crazy always trumped that. But it's out there. We've had Roderick Kingsley, Arnold Donovan, Ned Leeds, Jason Mekindale. Who else we have?
The Unknown Goblin, which is still hilarious.
Right. The Unknown Goblin.
Daniel Kingsley. Yeah, it's always passed around and passed down. And what's interesting about this is, for the origin of it is they never told him for so long who he was. Okay, so all right, so we're gonna have D. Palm's nerdy story corner for a second. When the character was created, it was originally in 238. Someone found Green Goblin's old lair and then developed the Hobgoblin. It was originally written by Roger Stern. He admits when he plotted the first story, he had no idea who Hobgoblin was going to be. As he was writing it, he said it revealed to him that it was going to be Roderick Kingsley. A couple readers thought it Kingsley immediately. Stern was going to have the truth revealed in 264. Stern left the series in 252. Tom DeFalco took his place. DeFalco asked him, "Hey, I want to make sure you do your story justice. Who's a Hobgoblin?" He told him it was Kingsley, and DeFalco said, "Nah, that's stupid."
I want to do your story justice. Wait, that's what you're going to go with? Oh, fuck that. Fuck that shit. We're not doing that shit.
DeFalco ended up having the Hobgoblin continue to tease the mystery. He was going to have it be Richard Fisk, the son of Wilson Fisk. Mm-hmm. He doesn't reveal that. Because then James Owsley comes on as the editor of the Spider-Man titles. He and DeFalco don't get along. So when Owsley asked Hobgoblin who DeFalco had as the Spider-Man, as Hobgoblin villain, DeFalco lied and just said Ned Leeds, brother of Betty Brant Leeds, longtime supporting character of Spider-Man. Owsley then has a one-shot written, Spider-Man vs. Wolverine, where they killed Ned Leeds and told Peter David, who was writing Spectacular, to reveal Hobgoblin as the Forerunner. It it was too late to undo Leeds' death, so because the foreigner was a dumb idea. And so they just had to posthumously say, oh yeah, by the way, Ned Leeds was always Hobgoblin. Stern comes back to the character in 1997. Livid. He writes a 3
What did you guys do to my character?
It's called Spider-Man Lives, or excuse me, Spider-Man Hobgoblin Lives. Roderick Kingsley is now the original Hobgoblin. He had brainwashed Leeds and taken the fall for him. They killed off Macendale, and then they bring back Kingsley. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But, again, and I hate to do this, so for a long time, like we said, this character was a character who would just appear out of nowhere with unknown motivations, wreak havoc on Spider-Man's life, and get out. Mm-hmm. Usually with a lot of money. He was one of those villains who won a lot. Yeah. No matter who was under the mask. Mm-hmm. Eventually, they've done a great job after Stern's Hobgoblin Lives miniseries. They've done a tremendous job of weaving it in and making it all make sense. Another thing I always like tip my cap towards Marvel for, they don't ignore their history because this doesn't fit. They make it fit.
Right. Make it work.
They retcon. They don't even retcon. They expand on Roderick Kingsley's origin as a fashion designer to be someone who just loves making money and loves making deals. Mm-hmm. Roderick Kingsley in Stern's miniseries is revealed to be pretty much the franchisee of crime. He'll take a moniker, develop it in an area, and then sell it to locals. So that's how he comes back to New York and sends his twin brother Daniel to stop Phil Urich from stealing his stash. Urich kills Daniel, which brings Kingsley out of retirement. Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
It's awesome, and
and people say, "Well, it's a complicated." If you need to describe Hobgoblin in a word, he's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is the lead up into the those issues where Otto Octavius taking over Peter's body. But it's funny because you have So at one point, you end up getting 2 Hobgoblins. You have the original in Kingsley, and then you have Urich. And it's funny seeing them interact with each other. And eventually, like, Kingsley is disgusted out of how amateurish, how much of an amateur Urich is. He's like, dude, you kept your suit at your apartment? The fuck? Like, you know, you don't, like, you have all this stuff, you have ability to do, but he's like, you know what though? You know what, kid, though? You got a heart. So what we're going to do is, you can keep the Hobgoblin suit and everything like this. You got to give me a cut, though.
I'm about to say, for a price.
For a price. You're going to cut me in on everything you do, and you realize that Kingsley literally is franchising off villains. And you're like, this could be a problem.
Yeah.
Then you get the whole Goblin King stuff with the Green Goblin and things like that. Like, it's the Hobgoblin. Like I said, I need to go back and read more Hobgoblin stories. I'm like, I think that this character's more interesting than I gave credit for.
Yeah, it feels like a dime store version of Green Goblin. Because you look at him, you're like, he literally stole Green Goblin's gear and dyed it a different color. Mm-hmm. But then you realize just how separate his legacy is from Green Goblin's.
It's separate legacy, separate motivations. In a way, because he's more mentally stable most times, it's
a business for him.
Yeah.
The other one's balls to the wall crazy.
Yeah, and it's personal, you know?
Yes.
When it's just business, you can do things like at one point they like Kingsley and Urich are fighting each other, and they go, "All right, truce. Let's go kill Spider-Man. Like let's call it a truce right now. We'll kill each other later, but right now we got to do this thing and get that Goblin key so we can get access to Norman Osborn's lair and get more goblin gear and stuff like that." So it's like, yeah, it's like to them it's a business, and in a way, sometimes when it's more business than personal, that person can be more dangerous to you because they can do things like, fuck this, I'm out. You know? Which means they can come back later on to haunt you. So I was very not gonna lie, I was very, very surprised and shocked by that. And I gotta read more Hobgoblin. But yeah, I'm reading a lot of him in some of the recent stuff, and he's also in the Superior Spider-Man and things like that. And yeah, not bad. Not bad.
No, definitely not bad.
Yeah, so read some. I'll put some of the earlier Hobgoblin stuff in there, but like I just thought it was interesting. This is one of those characters that they just did not reveal who he was.
They kept forgetting to. Well, they just kept kicking the can down the road, and eventually you're like, you got to bring in the creator to fix it all. Because Ned Leeds didn't make any damn sense. I'm still mad about that.
But hey, like you said, Marvel doesn't run from their history, and they did it.
Right. And they weren't scared of the fact that these editorial fuck-ups and backbiting caused this problem. They didn't say, New Universe, only one Hobgoblin. They said, no, we can make it work. And they did.
Next one we got in here. Jackal. First appearance. The Amazing Spider-Man 129, which is also the first appearance of the Punisher. Which we learn he's actually using the Punisher to go after Spider-Man. Real name is Miles Warren. He's a former biology teacher of Gwen and Peter. He blames Spider-Man for Gwen's death. This is also the guy, if you want to blame people or you know, for cloning Spider-Man, this is your man.
This is another character where it's things that happen for Spider-Man begat bigger problems. Gwen died. Wait, her professor was secretly in love with her and he's a crazy person who makes clones? Of course he is.
Right.
We'll see the next few characters that we do to close this thing out with. Because this suit's evil and trying to take over my mind, better get rid of it. Oh, no, wait. That's also created a much larger problem.
Right. Much larger problem.
So, for all the things, and people will say that the Clone Saga should be enough to put the Jackal on the list. I say thee nay. As a fan of both the original Clone Saga from the 60s and the revisiting in the 90s, I must say, you read that first Clone Saga, the first clone issue. So, what happened was in the 60s, Jackal, like you said, hated Spider-Man for killing Gwen. He then starts cloning Gwen and cloning people, including Spider-Man. And Spider-Man fights his own clone. It ends in a smokestack, and one Spider-Man comes out and swings home. You're never told specifically that that's our Spider-Man. And someone telling a story in the 90s said that with that nugget I can make a story, and then it was successful, and then it got too successful because it got out of hand, and then all the editors got a hold of it, and everyone had a Spider book, and it was sad. But at the kernel of it, the core of it, the Jackal just sucks. And he loves to torment Peter, and he's obsessed with both Peter and Gwen and the whole thing, and it's gross and weird. And it's just been... And he's coming back again. Now. Spoilers for people who aren't reading Spider-Man books, but they're bringing back the Jackal.
And again, because this is another one of those characters that knows who Peter Parker is. Like, this is one of those things where Spider-Man has more than you would think, more villains that know who he really is.
Fewer posts, one more day.
True. I forgot about that.
But Jackal does know.
Yeah. Well, when you're cloning somebody and they come out,
you tend to figure these things out.
Yeah, and the clone comes out and it's fucking your former fucking student. Yeah, you might know. You know, it might be a problem. So, yeah.
He created all the spider clones. If you hate Ben Reilly, you and I have to have a long talk, but yes, this is his fault. If you hate Kane, again, long talk, this is his fault. If you hate Spider-Side, you're 100% right. That was a stupid clone. It's his fault. If you hated the multi-chromium covers in the 90s, that wasn't his fault, but I think you put the blame on him.
Well, hey, this is blame Jackal.
Yeah, blame Jackal. Honestly, and that's kind of how it's become for Peter. Like, when things are going weird in his life, you're like, ugh. Yeah, this is gonna be a problem. But he sees the world as a petri dish. He sees the world as his own personal science experiment. Spider Island, which recently happened, was mostly his fault. And he makes clones that don't last.
Yeah. Kane was his first attempt. There's in Grim Hunt, there's a good ending to Kane's story. You know, a little bit with Kane kind of sacrificing himself and finally kind of trying to live up to, you know, the legacy of being, you know, a Peter Parker clone. So there's some good stuff in there with that. Anything else we want to say on Jackal before we get to these final three?
He's just an asshole.
Yeah, fuck him.
God, he's an asshole.
All right, so the final thing we got in here. let's start with this first one here.
Should we do Carnage? Like, I know chronologically we should do Carnage second, but
Let's do Carnage now because it was fine. They're
Okay.
Carnage. Cletus Cassidy, first appearance, Amazing Spider-Man 361. What's some good reads for him? For me, it wasn't even the reads. I played the Maximum Carnage video.
I'm about to say Maximum Carnage.
The Maximum Carnage video game.
Which, by the way, if you didn't play it, you weren't a child in the 90s.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know you.
This game was the jam.
That was the shit, yo. That was my shit. I played the fuck out of Maximum Carnage.
And this is for people who say that comic book villains aren't too taken seriously, or that, oh yeah, he's got important stories, but it's hard to take a guy with 4 metal arms seriously, which is stupid. Cletus Cassidy was a serial killer before he got the symbiote.
Right.
Like, Cletus Cassidy is Buffalo Bill. Like, he's a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
A psychopath who's only here to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you gave him a shape-shifting, super durable, super strong, replicating suit.
What could possibly go wrong?
Aside from everything.
Right.
He burned down a funeral home, like, as a kid. It's amazing. He was serving 11 consecutive prison terms when he was Eddie Brock's cellmate. He was waiting for a parole hearing. And Eddie Brock busted out using the symbiote, and the symbiote left behind an offspring. And that offspring became Carnage, who literally...
This is why you use protection, guys.
When I tell you that he's crazy, his first act as a supervillain was starting to kill people. And they said, why? They asked him why he killed this one person. He said, it was the dumbest name I could find in the phone book. That was it. He's stronger because the way the symbiotes work, they're empowered by your mental focus and your delusions. Him being a full-blown psychopath, he's stronger than Venom and Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Forces Venom and Spider-Man to team up. Against him, yeah.
It's... When I tell you that Carnage is just a horror movie, he is. We got a great crossover and video game out of Maximum Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
But even the video game didn't really let you, because it was made for kids, you didn't get to touch on what Carnage really was. He's just a serial killer with superpowers.
Have you read the new, there's a new Carnage book, right?
There's a new Carnage book. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
But I want to, because they're changing him. And we're not going to talk about some new changes, because I don't know exactly how they're going to change it. I know what some of the things they're doing. They're adding a supernatural element to it. But I haven't read that yet, so I don't want to speak to it. The symbiotic costume lets him lift up to 80 pounds. He's fast. He's strong. He's Spider-Man, but if Spider-Man could turn his arms and legs into bladed weapons and throw them at people, and to do so.
And if Spider-Man was crazy.
Also that.
And a psychopath murderer.
That too. It's, you want your serial killer, you want your Joker analog who kills are measured in dozens. It's Carnage. The rest of the people on this list, generally, they're out for something. Maybe they hate Spider-Man, but they focus on one thing. The Rhino is clearly unhinged after everything that's happened to him. They're all a little bit crazy. Venom's the one who, when he doesn't have his symbiote, would paint himself in red blood and call himself Carnage still.
Well, and it's also the whole thing with Maximum Carnage where he busts out other villains and they don't even fuck with him. They're just there because, oh, well, fuck it, we're here for streaks, so we'll stick around. But we don't even like this motherfucker. He's nuts. Like,
right.
It's literally the Joker analog, and it's like nobody else really fucks with the Joker like that either.
Right. You can't. They leave the Joker out of team ups because they leave Carnage out of team ups.
Mm-hmm. Like nobody goes, hey, you're gonna form a sitting centers for 6. Let's ask Carnage if he wants to join. Oh no, you know what?
Nah. Carnage. He's
might
not right.
Yeah, he might kill us all.
I ain't really trying to have. I don't want those problems.
Yeah.
That's Carnage. He's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
And I wish, I know people are going to say, well, there's not much to say about Carnage. He's a crazy person who kills people.
Yeah. I mean, you know what you're getting with him.
Yeah.
And I think every superhero, you need at least one of those, right? You need one of those villains that is just crazy.
That you see the name on next week's solicits, you know it's just going to be a damn bloodbath.
Mm-hmm. We're just, okay, we're going to, that's what we're doing now? We're just going to kill everybody? Okay. That's
all right. Hey, not my book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, back to it. Yeah, you need that character though. You need that one character that's just I feel like it kind of gives writers a break. You don't have to think too hard about it. It's like, Oh, okay, we're doing Carnage this week? All right, we're going to kill everybody, right? Or have them try to kill everybody. All right.
Right.
Seems easy. So now we'll go back to the beginning before we get to Carnage. Venom.
Okay, Spider-Man goes to space. Spider-Man rips his costume. Spider-Man finds a machine that says he develops costumes. Spider-Man gets a new costume. New costume. And the way they did this, by the way, so what happened was Secret Wars happened in a year that they spent on this battle world. But if you're reading the books on a monthly basis, they didn't show you the year. So what happened was, 1 week reading Spider-Man in red and blues, the next you're reading him in the black and whites, you don't know what happened. Masterful storytelling. It feels disjointed, but man, it makes you pick up everything else. It makes you curious about the other stories. It was a great ploy by Marvel to really kind of advance storylines and make them fill in the gaps later. Oh wait, they just did that with 8 months later in their normal gap, in the gap right now, didn't they? After Secret Wars. Weird. It's almost like it's a thematic sequel.
Almost like
anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, Spider-Man figures out that this symbiote is alive and feeding on him and doesn't want to let him go and wants to bond with him permanently. He goes to the Fantastic Four. They tell him that fire and sonics will hurt the symbiote, will drive it away. And he ends up in a church. The bells are ringing. They're driving the suit off, and he thinks he killed it. He was wrong.
Always check for the body. Like, this is a fucking rule, man. If there's no body, no death. Like, just...
So it's interesting the way it's told, because sometimes it's told that he takes it back to the FF, and it's not the clearest story, but side by side with Spider-Man trying to shake this suit is there's a series of murders going around in New York. And a young reporter named Eddie Brock thinks he's got an exclusive with the murderer. Called himself the Sin Eater. Except there wasn't the Sin Eater. It was a copycat.
Right.
And so this was proven by Spider-Man, picture provided by Peter Parker. So Eddie Brock is now disgraced. His hatred focused on 2 points: Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Peter Parker, Spider-Man. And the suit finds him. And now Spider-Man has a very large, very angry problem.
What I loved about, like, especially early Eddie Brock Venom stories is, no matter what he was doing, Eddie would take the suit off and then start pumping iron, like he was fucking like he was fucking
Yeah.
Universe, yo. He's just like, I gotta be stronger. I gotta be strong, and it's just like, good God, this is gonna be a problem. And what you love about, especially those early Venom appearances, again, Amazing Spider-Man 299, the big one I have, Amazing Spider-Man 300, where his first full appearance is just, Venom is a problem.
Yeah.
He's just, there's no easy way for Peter to beat him. Peter beats him early on by luck. Like in the first one, it's the symbiote is still technically, if you will, in love with Peter Parker and wants to come back. So in that way, it tries to leave Eddie Brock and go back to Peter, but it can't fully unbond with Eddie. So it's not, and that kind of takes it out. And it's just, there's no easy way. Like, and when he comes, what I like, my more favorite stories are 314 and 317, Amazing Spider-Man, where he comes back and he comes back and shows up at Peter's house. And
He's a horror movie. He's just like,
and it's taunting the fuck out of him.
It's suspense. That's all it is.
The interesting thing that you get about Venom, and you wouldn't think about this, he has this weird code of honor and sense of innocence. Like in issue 334, Peter tells Brock to stop threatening his Aunt May. He's like, stop threatening her, stop showing up here, stop threatening her. He goes, sir, you offend me. Mrs. Parker is so innocent. I would never harm her. And he's serious.
Right.
In 332, he's, again, has Spider-Man dead to rights. He has him up in his webbing. He's got him done. He stops. A baby falls into the river. Venom goes and saves the baby. It's just one of those things like, wait, what's going on here, man? You're literally trying. You're literally scary. You've killed people before. Like when he breaks out of the prison, he kills some of the guards, but he's almost like remorseful for killing an innocent guard. It's like, well, it's not really you didn't really want this, but I have to do this.
Yeah, you got in the way.
You got in the way. It's just this weird sense of honor with him.
Well, part of it is the fact that he carries. So the way the symbiotes have been explained working is that they carry genetic memory from their previous hosts. So the sense of honor came from Peter, but it also was warped by Eddie saying that he was an innocent who was ruined by Spider-Man and Peter Parker. He sees them as the ultimate corruptors of the innocent because he says that's what happened to him because he's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in that scene where he's like, look, Venom, I'm tired of these threats against Aunt May. If you so much as touch her, sir, you offend me. Miss Parker is so innocent. I would never harm her. You have my word. He reaches out his hand to shake on it, yo.
Yeah, he's dead ass serious.
Mm-hmm. Just it's crazy. This is when he finds out that he finds out where Peter is, and he finds out that he goes, that doesn't explain why you didn't attack me on my you didn't make me reveal my spider powers in front of everyone. In a battle on the suburbs might hurt innocent people. I like to avoid that when possible. As for your beloved secret identity, well, I want you for myself. If your dual identity were publicly known, there'd be too much competition for your scalp. I'd have no intention of revealing your secrets, as long as you play by the rules. That's the other thing too. So what makes Venom so dangerous to Spider-Man is that spider sense don't work
At all.
It is rendered pointless against Venom. So
which means so even when you see Spider-Man get tagged, like in a fight, it's because something else is happening or he couldn't be quick enough. He gets tagged against Venom because there's no warning.
Right.
He's just getting his ass kicked.
And that's what makes Venom so dangerous and scary. And it's this is another one of those things that, lucky for Peter, Eddie ain't that smart.
Right.
Because if Eddie was smart, we were going to talk about this when Scorpion got the symbiote. I didn't read those.
Right. What happened is Eddie, he goes through a lot. And he kind of decides that he needs to give away the symbiote, to get rid of the symbiote, to prove himself, to show that he's a better person. Because you have to understand, like, when he was Venom, it was a one-track mind on the spider. Like you said, he literally was stalking MJ and Aunt May. So Eddie figures out that he has cancer. And the only thing keeping him alive was the symbiote, but the symbiote sees him as wrong or broken, unusable anymore. Eddie has a spiritual awakening and sells his symbiote to a gang lord named, I'm looking this up, Don Fortunato. It doesn't matter. He gave the symbiote to his son so that his son would be something impressive. On his first time using the symbiote to swing, the symbiote abandoned his son midair and he fell to his death. It then got passed on to Matt Gargan, who became, it was so funny in this point because he's like, I'm the new and improved Scorpion, but everyone kept calling him Venom. And he's like, no, I'm still me. Come on, guys. And it was a little sad, not gonna lie, but it was very interesting, very entertaining. The symbiote then bounces around there. He stays with Matt Gargan for a while. He makes, because we're going from Brock to Venom now, and I don't want to muddy it up with the anti-Venom stuff because I didn't really like that stuff. Matt Gargan has the symbiote. He is integral in the Dark Reign storyline and being part of the Dark Avengers, to the point where during your Avengers, when Iron Patriot announces the new Avengers to the world, Peter's looking at the television screen with the rest of the Avengers in Cap's old apartment and says, "Is that? Oh man, or what? They didn't even go get. They got a fake Spider-Man. They didn't even get one of the good ones." He says, "Look, is that Venom? No, it's the idiot Scorpion. It's Matt Gargan." It's like, what do you mean? It's like, look, it's stupid, but he's got the suit now. It doesn't matter. An idiot in that suit is still an idiot. And it's 100% true, 100% funny. And eventually, after a gang war, the symbiote tries to bond with Eddie again. It can't. And ends up stuck on Scorpion. So now you kind of realize that he doesn't want to, the symbiote doesn't want to do the Scorpion anymore. I think the symbiote figured out he's a loser too, which is amazing to me. Just such a great, great moment. Let me find out. I want to make sure I get when the symbiote leaves. Okay, so the symbiote was taken away from him after the Dark Avengers were arrested, and when I want to make sure I get this right. When Alistair Smythe, who we didn't talk about in this Split Character Corner, but who has created a series of Spider Slayers, comes onto the scene, he busts out Gargan and gives him a new and improved Scorpion suit. The symbiote is then passed on to, and you'll know this name, kids, Flash Thompson, who's not just the antagonist in the first 15 minutes of every Spider-Man movie. No. This teenage bully ends up becoming a lifelong friend of Peter's, who lost his legs fighting overseas in a war. Mm-hmm. The symbiote is taken by the government and given to Flash to become Agent Venom. Ladies and gentlemen, we've gone from it being the anti-Spider-Man to
an agent of the state.
An agent of the state. Who at one point, if you remember, when Spider-Man loses his powers early on, fighting Dr. Octopus, Flash poses as Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. He's always worked with Spider-Man, always picked on Parker. Even as he came back a paraplegic from war, they became friends. But now he can serve his country again as Agent Venom.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, not that it's wrong. I want them to go back to the anti-Spider-Man.
That's fine. I really like Agent Venom.
I mean, again, it's not that it's wrong and bad. It's just like I want more of the evil Venom, you know?
I think it's coming, by the way.
That'd be good. I want that.
Things I've read say that it's coming, probably.
Okay. I'll take that.
So that's Venom. I mean, he's the Dark Mirror Spider-Man who's been on they've been trying to redefine and find a place in the mythos, and it looks like they're going to go back to the old faithful, which is literally it's the definition of with great power was the suit comes great responsibility. Don't just take it off and hope it's dead. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this is an object lesson and why you should listen to Uncle Ben.
Kill it with fire.
Fire, Sonics, whatever.
Something. Just make sure it's dead.
It has to die.
It has to die. Yeah, no. I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with the Venom stuff. Just that, like you said, when you go back and read some of this early Venom story stuff, like just the way he torments and just rubs it into Peter, and it's brutal. Like he shows up, and Peter's so mad, but then when Aunt May comes around the corner or MJ comes around the corner, Brock is just on his best behavior. You know, it's just it's so good. The trolling that he does is perfect, just perfect. All right. So this is definitely going to be longer than the Batman one.
We crossed the Batman Rubicon.
We did. But we are on our last villain. We are on number 1, which obviously we've mentioned him a couple times here and there. But you knew it had to be this. It was either going to be this or Dr. Octopus, and I think it's across. It has to be.
When you talk it out, we say that they're close, but then when you have the conversation, you're like, you know what?
It has to be. Close. Yeah, it's not close. Norman Osborn. First appearance is the Amazing Spider-Man number 14. Norman Osborn. We'll get into Harry a little bit later, but he is the Green Goblin, and best known for, just tormenting and torturing Peter, and the death of Gwen Stacy. And
he's also retroactively responsible for a lot of the Clone Saga too.
Yep. One of the things is that I read, and this I thought this did a really good job of nailing the Norman and Peter relationship, and why I said it begins with family, ends with family with these villains. Peter Parker Spider-Man, Volume 2, issues 44 through 47, A Death of the Family.
Yep.
This really just cements the relationship between Norman and Peter. Like, this is literally, you have Norman Osborn at the grave of Harry, and he's talking. He's like, "It's funny. You've been dead all these years, and I still haven't worked out how to talk to you. Never did, I suppose. My father used to say, a little darkness never hurt anybody. And I think that it was his way of telling me everything was going to be okay no matter what. I only ever wanted you to understand that, Harry, I tried to be fair with you, even though you were so much like your mother in so many ways. And then you went and died of a drug overdose just to spite me. You were always a disappointment to us.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then you have later on this series, you have, like, again, Osborn's put the Green Goblin mask back on and is back to torturing Spider-Man. What do you want, Osborn? To renew our acquaintance, of course. You knew this day was coming, Spider-Man. Don't deny it. Yes, on my calendar, June 10th, pick up the dog from the vet, kick Green Goblin's butt into next week. Haha, oh, that's priceless. You're still quite the clown, I see. We make quite a pair, don't we? You, the son without a father, me, the father without a son. Well, Daddy has a joke for you. After all these years we've known each other, this is the best one yet. I can't wait to see your face when you hear the punchline. Yeah, it's just this. It really nails a relationship in this book. Let's see. I call the shots on the relationship. I decide me. I say where it begins and where it ends. You're just along for the ride. Do you understand me, boy? I'm not your boy. Your son. You had a son and he died. That's the only chance you get. Wrong, Spider-Man. Your family, whether you like it or not. And in good old Osborn tradition, I'm inviting you to a reunion. Yeah, man.
He's so evil.
He's evil as shit. Evil as shit. Was it Flash Thompson? He ends up in this series. He ends up getting drunk and having crash into and gets him into a coma. It's just he's fucking nuts. Here's the thing. There's one story that's just so good that really nails it. So he tells Spider-Man to come over to his hideout and stuff like that, and he's playing with dolls. And it's a Green Goblin doll, it's a Spider-Man doll, and then there's a doll sitting on a couple of boxes higher up that looks like Gwen Stacy. Come on, I want to go bungee jumping. Come back, it's not safe up there on the bridge. Oh, don't you worry, little old me. I just know I'm safe when I'm around you. You big green hunk of goblin love. Oh, darling, isn't it wonderful? Just the two of us. Not if I have anything to say about it. Oh no! Look, everyone, it's Spider-Man. And while he's playing with these dolls, Spider-Man has come up behind him, and he's getting pissed.
Which was the goal,
right?
Like he's doing this to antagonize Spider-Man,
right? And it's just. But here's the thing that gets it. So in this story, earlier on, you have Peter talking to Aunt May about this dream he's having. Every night I go to bed wondering whether or not I'm going to dream. I feel like it's tearing me apart, you know? I mean, one moment life's a honeymoon, and the next your wife is in California, and the stars is Aunt May talking. I know the feeling, dear. Don't let these wrinkles fool you, Peter. Every line on my face is a lesson learned, and most of these lessons have been proven to be the same one. If this dream of yours is troubling, you need to talk. If not to me, then perhaps one of your friends, maybe even professional. Peter, with tears in his eyes, go, I can't, Aunt May. I just can't. There's only one person in the world who'd understand, and I can't reach him. You later find out in the series that one person is Norman Osborn.
Right. And
you have, he tells him, I keep having this dream. And this is after they've beaten each other senseless. They had a joke. I'm gonna read the joke later on. And they're sitting next to each other. And what kind of, Osborn says, what kind of dream, Peter? The same one over and over. I don't know what it means. There's no one I can confide in. No one but you. You're the only person who can possibly understand. I dream that I'm coming across the city as Spider-Man. I look up and I see a plane coming down over the building tops. I just know that my wife, Mary Jane, is on that plane. I hear the sound of machinery, the rumble of the engine, and then there's the sound of rushing wind and explosion. I'm rushing towards it, but I can't get there in time. I come across the wreckage. I'm screaming, desperate to find her, but I can't. I think I see her laying on the ground up ahead. I go towards her, and when I get there, I always find Gwen. Like, it's just like they share this bond over that death. And yeah, I mean, this was reading that a death of the family. That Peter Parker Spider-Man. Oh, that's another emotional book, man. It gets you.
Well, Spider-Man Blue.
Yeah, there you go.
Spider-Man Blue puts me I'm like, no one talks to me for like 2 days. I'm just going to be sat in the corner. Thank you very much. And it's true because you talk about the weight, and we talk about the present things that happen in the Spider-Man books, but how he overcomes them. The lows are low, man.
Oh yeah, they're there. They're there. I mean, he literally ends this book with the death of the family, just telling Norman, it's like, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm not gonna do this. You being you is punishment enough. I'm not gonna take you in. I'm not gonna do this. Like, and literally, it sticks to him. Like, Norman actually considers suicide.
Yeah, because he won't give him what he wants.
Right. Which is he wants Peter to become him, and he knows that Peter becoming him means Peter killing him, and Peter won't do it. They did see our funny moment in this again after beating each other senseless, and you got to think about it. This reminds me so much like the Killing Joke when Batman and Joker share that joke with you,
right.
For all the horribleness. When I first started out, this is Norman talking. When I first started off, I wanted to call myself Mr. Coffee. Guy, can you imagine how weird that would have been? How weird the last few years would have been if I had done that? Peter and him just look at each other and start laughing. Look out, kids! It's Mr. Coffee and his latte of doom. So even in this, like their horribleness, they still find this bond over laughing over this stupid shit that's going on here. Yo, it's just, yeah. He's also, you pointed out, he's the main villain in technically in Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, before we even get there, so what happens is Norman is crazy and becomes like the writ large. He becomes like Luthor.
Mm-hmm.
He angles himself to take over the Thunderbolts, which is a team of bad guys on covert operations for the government. And then after the secret invasion, when he positions himself as a hero, he takes over S.H.I.E.L.D. He becomes the number one security advisor for the government, for the world. And he's even raids Tony Stark's equipment to become the Iron Patriot.
Mm-hmm.
Predictably, because, and it's so funny is that throughout the entire time Dark Reign's happening, you have characters being like, you know Norman's crazy, it's all going to end soon, right?
Right.
And like Spider-Man, every few shows, I was like, no, I know this, I know it's bad, but I also know it's going to come to an end. Well, how do you know that? Because Norman's off his fucking rocker.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this can't last. And there's a moment in Dark Reign when Spider-Man punches Iron Patriot and the mask comes off and he's painted his face goblin green.
Mm-hmm.
And he cut to Wolverine talking to Cyclops, says, told you. He cut to Johnny Storm talking to Green, says, told you. It's just like, Pete is like, God, can we please just lock him away now? We've all proven that he's crazy. I've known he's crazy the whole damn time.
Right.
Can we just be done with this?
Right. Yeah, I told you this motherfucker was crazy.
It's just him screaming in the tornado for like 8 months of like, I cannot believe. And at one point, Hawkeye goes to try to kill Norman Osborn. Mm-hmm. And Spider-Man's like, you think I haven't wanted to do that? You guys are all getting like a tiny taste of what my life is.
Right.
Like knowing that you're doing the right thing and the whole world's on its ass. Welcome to Spider-Manville.
Yeah, this is also the thing that always gets you with any of these rogue galleries, right? With Batman, Spider-Man, and the Flash. There's always a time when some other hero comes in and is going like, I can handle this. Why didn't you just do this? And the hero just looks at him and goes, don't you think I thought of that? Like, come on. Like when I think it was like Damien was talking about the Joker. What are you talking about? This is a clown. What are you like? No, don't underestimate him. Don't do that. Don't
say that out loud.
Don't say that out loud. Don't do this.
Apologize to the wall.
Yeah, I think there's that conversation. We'll talk more about it when we do the Flash. When Batman is talking to the Flash about his rogue gallery, and just like Flash is like, listen, you don't understand. Like this is.
It's my favorite one moment.
Yeah.
First things first, you touched me because I let you touch me.
Right.
I wanted to make that very clear.
Right. Oh man, like it's just man. Yeah, he's fucking nuts. With or without the serum.
Right. And people will use that serve as an excuse. No. Norman's just a crazy person.
Mm-hmm. And a terrible father.
A terrible father.
You know, we have to mention Harry Osborn because Harry does at some point become the Green Goblin. I think that is the Child Within, the Harry Osborn saga. That's Spectacular Spider-Man 178 through 184 and stuff like that. And then with his, I think he dies in that one in 200.
Right.
Yes. So you do
great book, by the way, 200.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing book. Get you more into Harry Osborn as Green Goblin and just the legacy of horror that it means to be an Osborn.
Right, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, man, it just there's a moment in Secret Warriors, I believe, too, right? With one of the spinoff with
it's Hawkeye the List.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah,
he tries to go kill Norman Osborn, and it goes really, really poorly for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you were talking about, Superior Spider-Man. The entire time we're focused on. It's so funny because they tell the story that shows up Peter Matters and show us Octavius struggling to be Spider-Man, and then you realize that the entire subplot of the Goblins gathering has been happening right under Otto's nose because he doesn't know to look for Norman.
Yeah, he doesn't respect Norman, and it's one of those things that I think you notice, like if Peter had been there, Peter would have noticed that, hey, something's going on here.
Yeah, little things that we as readers notice. We're like, hey man, maybe you should. Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, we're just having a bunch of people look like a goblin gang. That's not a good thing. Like the goblins are they're like termites. Like you don't know, once you have that, you have to exterminate. Like you can't.
You don't have a goblin.
No, you don't.
You have goblins.
You have goblins, and having goblins as a spider is never a good thing. Never good. Yeah, so he comes out to be the real villain in Superior Spider-Man. And you realize that, again, this is why Peter Parker has to be Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah, man. Like, then you get Norman also in, I think, isn't Norman the first villain that Miles faces?
Yep.
Yeah.
Was it Spider-Man and Ultimate Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's there when Peter gets killed.
Yep.
And it's him in Ultimate Spider-Man. It's a different type of goblin because it's actually a transformation that goes through. But they also tie Spider-Man's origins because it wasn't just a random spider; it was a spider engineered by Osborn.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing about the Ultimate Spider-Man thing is it's like
they play up the father-son thing a lot more tightly.
Yeah, and basically Osborn and Roxxon and all of them are like all the spiders come from one place. And this is one thing we'll do. Maybe we'll do a character corner on that. We talk about the Bat family a lot and the Flash family. Maybe we should talk about the Spider family,
right?
Because that's one thing that also plays up in Grim Hunt a lot too, about how they're all connected and it all matters and Peter is the center. But maybe we'll do that at one point. We'll do something like that. But hey, back to Norman. Yeah, Osborn is he is the villain. Because he's been elevated to be like you said, a Marvel-wide threat to everyone. But at the same time, just even if you look on the on Peter in the Spider-Man universe itself, I mean, think about it. He is the Joker for Spider-Man. They don't play well. Nobody goes, hey, you know what we should do? Let's bring Green Goblin in on this.
Oh no, they did. The government did, and the entire time Peter's like, "It's not going to work."
Oh, I mean, when I say nobody, I mean none of the villains do.
Because they can't trust him.
Right. The villains know better. The government's stupid, so I expect the government to do something stupid like that. All right. Yeah. Of course, the government did, because the government also sees him as, oh well, he's a smart guy who runs a company and money, so okay. But everybody else is like, no, we don't fuck with Norman Osborn because Norman's crazy. Except for the Hobgoblin kind of that's kind of just a weird relationship though.
Right.
But everybody else is like, no, we're not gonna. Let's have a Sinister Six with with Green Goblin. No, how about not? How about not? How about we don't do that? And I mean that's just again the defining moment is the death of Gwen Stacy, and in that death of the family thing. Goblin kind of releases to J. Jonah. That's the one it was. It wasn't Grim Hunt. J. Jonah, he releases J. Jonah that he gets an expert to say that it was Spider-Man who killed Gwen Stacy. And that's when J. Jonah is looking at him after everything they've been through. He goes, well, you know what? I'll write a puff piece that exonerates you if you just take the mask off.
Right.
And Peter's just like, are you fucking kidding me? After everything we've been through, You're still trying to get me to take the mask off. You still don't trust me. But you'll trust and go with a crazy person. And that's just why, again, you begin with Jay Jonah, you end with Norman Osborn, and it's just a complete circle. And
right.
And you gotta think about it again. They introduced him in issue 14 of The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
As we said, not enough credit is given to them for this string of villains. Like this is a great villain that you have here. So
well, even in the Goblin War when he blows up all of Otto's, like he figures out that Otto is taking residence in Peter's head,
mm-hmm.
and he blows up all of Otto's history.
Mm-hmm.
It shows me again, like you don't get like how poorly he treats, how Goblin handles Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
The shit he puts Peter through, knowingly.
Mm-hmm.
It's when he twists his focus to someone else, you're like, oh, he is fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Peter just handles him. Peter just weirdly enough, has gotten used to it. Yeah, like I said, it's me how close they're tied together. Like as crazy as it is, and this is what makes villains so good, and makes villains make their heroes so good. As crazy as he is, and as much as he hates them, the only person Peter could talk about the dream with was Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
And that's
there's an issue. I want to say, hold on, I just opened it up. I don't know which issue number it is, but it's when Otto and Green Goblin are facing down. I forget, you're not the last guy. He could turn a hangnail into an epic tragedy. With you, I have to work a little harder. Consider this a rehearsal. I'll be back when I found someone who can really raise the stakes for our grand finale. You'll go nowhere but the grave. And out pop the arms, so predictable. Goblin snaps his fingers. Thank you, this will be a total letdown after all. I was saving that for the climax, but why wait, I can always come up with something else. I'm not a one-trick pony like you. I mean, really. Metal arms again, and based on your own designs. So pathetically easy to hijack for a real genius. See you for the final act in case if you survive this one, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's so far ahead, and that should give you better. And it gives auto appreciation. Like, he's been dealing with this asshole for years, and doing it well. Mm-hmm. And I can't, and I can't not have my own arms attack me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, Norman Osborn, folks. This motherfucker is bad. All right, 2 hours and 48 minutes.
Was that bad?
Hey, I'll put it this way. You know what? The Flash one probably won't be that long, only because we already did Wally West. So maybe, right. So that'll be the interesting thing. So when we do the Flash, let's talk about this now. We'll talk about it on air, talk it out. Do the Flash. What are we doing? Are we?
We're doing we're doing all the rogues. We're doing Wally, Barry, rogues, and I think the back half of it can be comparing the 3 rogue hours.
All right, let's do it then. All right.
That'll
probably be in August sometime, guys. We're done for this month. We got you
done with these for this month.
Oh, done with these. All right, let's not go too far. I will be in San Diego Comic-Con getting some more stuff, hopefully some more interviews and things like that. And then we'll come back with some more. We'll come back with a Super Tuesday. Maybe we'll come back with a Super Tuesday, and I'll recap some stuff from San Diego Comic-Con, and we'll do some other stuff. It'll be fun. But I hope you guys enjoy this. Again, we did all of the Super... Listen, Debo, you said, oh, no, it won't be that long. We might be able to do it in an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah, okay. Almost.
I was wrong. I'll be wrong. It's fun.
Hey,
it's
listen.
Fun.
That's what happens when you get these rogue galleries. That's why it's important, man. So, guys, thank you guys very much for listening. Deepon, again, thank you for joining me. And, guys, until next time, we are out of here. Peace.